All right, guys, welcome back. It's the Jake Ellenbogen live. I'm doing a live stream on Monday like usual, but we're doing it a little earlier, and we're doing it about the MCU, so way different. We have a panel here of people that I trust and that know their stuff. Great people. I'm going to introduce each one of them, and you guys can give out, let's say, just name your favorite superhero for each name I give out. So Joe Carlino, he also does work over at DTSN, Falcons, and Blogging Dirty. What's up, Joe? Who's your favorite superhero?
How we doing, Jake? It's a pleasure to be on the round table with you guys. If I had to pick a favorite superhero, I'd probably have to go with Captain America just because, it's Cap.
It's Cap. All right. So we got Captain America in the house. Okay, next up, we have Ashton Spencer. You see him on Twitter as Ramfan Ashton, and he has a show that I have been on as well. We've talked before. Who's your favorite superhero, Ramfan Ashton?
So I got to be that guy. It's Batman. I grew up on Batman's animated series. Like he is what got me into comic books and comic book movies and stuff like that. So I love Batman death. I even got Batmobile here but behind me, so definitely got to be Batman.
All right, we got my guy Shane Carter. I went on his podcast over there talking about the Dallas Cowboys and the LA Rams game. We know how that game ended. How's it going, Shane? And who's your favorite superhero?
Hey, what's up, Jake? If you asked me when I was a kid, I grew up at the time whenever Batman the Animated Series and the Superman cartoon all came out, and so I would have been back and forth with those two guys. But if you ask me as an adult who my favorite superhero has become more and more, it's been this guy. It's Deadpool, just because he is the not superhero. He's the one who recognizes that they're all fake, but just no one believes him, and I love it.
I dig it. All right, next up, we have the tech guru himself, John Redinger. How is it going, man? And who is your favorite superhero, John?
So first, I love that podcast you did with Shane, by the way, especially the outcome of that game. I'm definitely Spider-Man.
Hey, my guy.
My kids think I'm Spider-Man, so I gotta roll with that.
I dig it. There we go. Who's your favorite of the Spider-Man?
I mean, you gotta go classic, right? Peter Parker.
Well, no. But I mean, like the actor.
Oh,
Yeah,
the actors. Listen, I mean, I think Tom Holland did a great job as like the younger Peter Parker, something that we didn't get before. So I'm gonna roll with the current Spider-Man, Tom Holland.
I dig it. Yeah, I really don't know how to answer that, so I just gave you a question I couldn't answer because I love all three of them. All right, Jordan, we've been in touch for a while, my man. How you doing? Who is your favorite superhero?
Yeah, I'm doing good. It's pretty hot up here in Iowa. But, when I was a kid, I was a big Spider-Man fan, but kind of took after my father. He's a big Wolverine lover. And I understood his story and the violence of it. It was something really new until they brought Deadpool in. And I would say Wolverine. And so I'm really skeptical when it comes to recasting him. So I'm going to be pretty hard on it no matter who it is.
All right, well, maybe we'll get to the fan casting later on in the show here. Always interesting there. You guys know where I'm standing if you follow me on Twitter. Big Daniel Radcliffe to be Logan fan. So not everyone agrees. It's totally fine. Next, we have Carl. How's it going, my man? Who is your favorite superhero?
What's going on, man? Appreciate you having me. I'm going to go outside the box here. I'm a huge fan of the Power Rangers franchise, so I'm going to name one of them.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the Red Turbo Ranger from Power Rangers Turbo, TJ. So
there you go.
Just go outside the box a little bit.
Everybody's head is nodding.
The second variation of the Turbo.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
I like Mighty Morphin the best.
We do have two people coming. They're going to be a little late, and that's fine. We'll just we'll go on until they show up, and we'll integrate them in. Cole Thompson and Alec Zamora. So we're going to get right into it, guys. And phase 4, what better to kick it off than WandaVision, which we, of course, saw. Now, I'm going to ask, we're going to go in order of everybody that I just introduced. So we'll start with Joe. With WandaVision, basically, do you have any takeaways, any theories leading into the rest of Phase 4, anything you took away from this TV series?
Honestly, what I'm trying to figure out is, was that the real Quicksilver, or was that going to be a multiverse variation of him? Because was it a fake Pietro? Was it the real Pietro? We don't really know. And it's set it up a little bit, but we just don't have that confirmation because, again, as we're going to get into it, like Doctor Strange and the multiverse later, it's possible it could be one that doesn't know who Wanda is, doesn't know who Vision is. So it's possible that could be that, but it's also possible that it actually was that one and they just, wanted to hook us in for season 2.
No, I definitely agree with you there. And I'm looking at, like, as this whole thing is processing, I think a lot of people are wondering, I'm a big Evan Peters fan. I also like Aaron Taylor Johnson, so I'm not going to say that I didn't like Aaron Taylor Johnson, but I'm a big fan of the X-Men. So I was like, ooh, we know that Marvel acquires, Disney acquires the rights to the X-Men, then the Evan Peters thing there. I'm not 100% sold. That was just a gag. I know some people will say, what are you talking about? It's clear. It was laid out. It was a gag. It was an Easter egg. I'm not so sure about that. Now we'll move on to Ashton. What do you think? And what were your takeaways that we haven't already discussed about WandaVision?
Well, maybe someone will know and comment down below if you guys do. I believe the director did come out and say he was just a random actor that got taken over. I think director confirmed that was just a cameo by Evan Peters. I don't like that they did that. I thought they could have just put someone else as fake Pietro instead of kind of like doing a purposeful mislead that, hey, maybe this is a multiverse person. So I think that's been confirmed. My biggest takeaway is I think Mephisto will be the big villain of the Doctor Strange film. I know the director said that it was kind of coincidence. They had a lot of like symbolism towards like the devil and stuff like that within the movie, within the TV show. But in general, I think Mephisto will be the big bad for Doctor Strange 2. And it just, man, that TV series was so much better than I expected it to be. Like, you think after like a whole series of movies being really, really good and high quality, and like what they did with Avengers, that it would go downhill or start to slump a little, like DC has been all over the place. But man, they just knocked it out of the park again with this TV series.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with that, Ashton. Now, Cole has just joined the fray, so I'm going to bring him right in here, introduce him, and then we'll go right to Shane, who is going to, give his thoughts as well. Cole, welcome to the fray, my man. How we doing?
How we doing, guys?
Pretty good.
Glad to see you.
Glad to be here. Glad to talk a little bit of Marvel. Definitely, we got a lot to discuss. We have a lot to discuss.
We do, and we're going. So I'm assuming everybody sees the same thing I'm seeing. The order with Joe next to me, Ashton next to Joe. We're going in that order. So we just Cole, you haven't missed a ton. Basically, just an introduction. By the way, who's your favorite superhero?
So actually, I have been a huge proponent of Ant-Man since I was a little kid, and I always was a Scott Lang version of instead of the Hank Pym. So,
okay.
Fun fact: when my two favorite superheroes and my two favorite actors are Deadpool and Ant-Man, and my two favorite actors are Ryan Reynolds and Paul Rudd. So I won big when they came out with Ant-Man, and I am sticking to it. That was the best casting decision Disney has made, Marvel has made in the last, I would say, decade. That was my favorite one.
That's amazing.
And now you have Ryan Reynolds, so I'm very excited for that version.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't blame you there. Now we are moving on to Shane here. We're discussing WandaVision. Shane, what were your takeaways? Any theories you may have following the events of WandaVision?
I guess the only theory that I would have would be with Monica Rambeau, who I thought was one of the breakout characters of the show, along with Agatha. Those two ladies just killed it. I really liked how they kind of transformed her into this sort of like daughter of the pilot who happened to know Carol Danvers into what looks like could be another hero. And my theory would be that they're going to go along the lines of having two Captain Marvels. They have Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers, then she's going to take over the Miss Marvel, so to speak. They're going to have two different ones, one out there in the stars and one out here on Earth. because that's obviously she got called by Nick Fury, or it looks like she did in the end credit scene. So I think that's what they're kind of leaning towards, if I had to guess.
No, I definitely agree with you there, and it's actually really cool that they really tied that in because they have the Captain Marvel movie. They show a young Monica Rambeau, and then they show her coming back from the snap, which I thought was really cool. And I think this is really the thing that I'm really enjoying about Phase 4 here. And I know it's really early on, but we're getting to see kind of like the aftermath and like kind of what was like. What life was like beforehand, and we'll get into like the flag smashers and all of that, but I do like how they're explaining literally every single like speck of detail about what Thanos did to this world, and I'm really excited to see as we go on more and more and more. All right, so now, John, what are your thoughts on WandaVision? Any theories you may have?
I got thoughts, man. I got lots of thoughts. First, I loved they were teasing the whole way through, like, oh, it's Mephisto, oh, it's Nightmare, and then it was neither of them. I love that they did that totally intentionally. I don't think that Disney is going to do anything with Mephisto, not because he's not a great character. I just think they want to deal with the protest of them having a devil in the movie. For whatever that's worth. But
totally agree.
nobody mentioned the Darkhold. I want to see what they're doing with that. Like, how's dark magic going to play in here? Is Wanda being set up as a villain now that she's seen everything inside of there? Are they going to bring in dark realms and dark magic? That's what I'm excited about, sort of heading into Multiverse of Madness. Obviously, she's fiercely the one who's going to open up a multiverse. But I am pumped to see sort of that little trail and eventually where that leads to.
I am too. I'll be honest with you. I think, looking at this show, I really got sucked into the theories. I was one of the people that thought maybe they introduced the X-Men with them. But one thing I'll say is that at the end, you really understood it wasn't even really about Vision. It was the story arc of how we finally get Scarlet Witch in the MCU, because she's been there. It's kind of been like the worst kept secret we've ever seen in like the history of the MCU. But no one had ever called her that on screen until Agatha Harkness. So that's that. But Jordan, what are your, well, I already know a bunch of your thoughts, but let everyone else know what your thoughts are on this one. Jordan, you there?
If my internet's going bad, I apologize. On next, let me know if you can hear me right.
We can hear you.
Okay. I do have a couple things. It's hard to tell if they're going to bring this to, because I know there's that whole thing with China, and that's a big market for them. But then if you look in the Mephisto in the background of that church, I wonder what we're going to do with that. Me and Jake talked about that probably every single day about theories, things we may be on Reddit, just, going. We got so lost in what it could be that we didn't take it for what it's. And I think when you look at what it was, and it was just a story about Wanda overcoming her trauma and trying to deal with all of it, it was really good. But, for Marvel, they didn't pull us in on some things or lead us on a little bit. Is a little ridiculous, because I think they pretty much did, and then with Evan Peters thing, his character did laugh the name when Tiana Paris, who's great as Monica Rambeau, when she said your name's Ralph Boner, and he laughed at the name. Who laughed at her own name? And then there was a thing where the director said he's not sure if we'll see Evan Peters again, and I don't know why you say that if there wasn't anything. And I'm not going to say we will, but I do think there's a big chance. And to go with Darkhold, at the end there, she, is studying it, and then you see on one page of the book on the left side, it looks like there's different worlds. So I don't know if she's studying the multiverse to try to find a way to bring her children to her, especially when she hears them calling. So I do think there's a chance that she's the big bad of Doctor Strange, but I also could see a little mixture of Mephisto because of the whole kind of deal, not being able to show Mephisto probably fully. But I do think she'll be bad at least for a little bit, and she'll be the one that learns the spell to try to bring the multiverse together.
Yeah, I tend to lean in that direction as well. That they could go that route, and that really this was all about her, as I was saying earlier. But I do think that they could introduce Chthon. I think Chthon is kind of where I'm leaning as being that. I think that's going to be the main antagonist in the Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. But Carl, tell me what you got.
Well, I'm surprised nobody's mentioned it. What's going to happen with the White Vision? We saw it come about, and there's no Avengers anymore. Like Tony's gone, Captain America's gone, Black Widow's gone. We see Nick Fury; he's off in space. With the Skrulls or whatever. So where's he going to go? Like, is he going to hang out with Peter Parker? With Happy, what's going on? So
I actually
something to think about.
Yeah, it's funny that I'm glad you brought that up because I actually have a theory on that. I think we might actually see Spectral Vision in Falcon Winter Soldier. And I'm not saying 100% we will, but I'm saying that I think Spectral Vision went to Wakanda because where did Vision die? Wakanda in Infinity War. So I think also where was Vision worked on with the Mind Stone? By Shuri in Wakanda. So I feel like he's going because that's the last thing. That's where all the memories that Vision implanted into Spectral Vision's head, they stop there. And I think that, like, if I just put yourself in like Spectral Vision shoes, if you're Spectral Vision, you're probably like sitting there like, wait a minute, so this is where it ends? I need to know the rest of this story. So I'm going where it ends. And so that I think he goes to Wakanda, and we're going to talk about it a little bit with, Falcon Winter Soldier, but sure seems like we're getting a crossover there, and it could lead to other stuff down the line. I don't want to get too much into it because we have so much to cover. So now, Cole, give me your thoughts, your theories.
So I try to not have as many theories because of just how much it goes and builds up, but you can't help when you've read the comics and you understand more the comical background of the MCU, what direction they could be leaning in. So I forget who said something about Monica Rambeau being in Miss Marvel. She will be in Miss Marvel. That's already been announced that Tiana Ferris will be playing in Miss Marvel as Photon, who is her character in the MCU. And the other thing is that Miss Marvel will be played by, I think it will be another actress, but it's going to be the Kamala Khan version of her. So the younger version of her with Carol Danvers. What I really appreciate about the show is they understand good villains and good story arc. And what they didn't do was they didn't make it a sole story on one direct thing. They told a superhero story. And I think the problem with that, and I noticed that's a lot in Captain Marvel, was they tried to focus in on a narrative. They didn't do that this time around. And because of it, you realize Scarlet Witch is probably the strongest Avenger. She now has the Darkhold. She now has the ability to basically manipulate reality, as she already can, but with a dark magic. And they also are keeping Agatha Harkness's character, who was played phenomenally by Kathleen Hahn, in the MCU a little while longer, very similar to what they did with Zemo, played by Daniel Bruhl, for Falcon and Winter Soldier. They can bring her back now in multiple different times because of instead of killing her off, like they've done in multiple other movies, they allow her to stay and they allow that character arc to build and become a little bit more functioning and a little bit more of, I would say, a rival towards, God, why am I blanking on it now? To Scarlet Witch going into the next series. The one thing I do wonder is, what do we all make for Wanda when she hears Tommy and Billy's voices when we read the Darkhold? That, I think, is where we get back into the Multiverse of Madness. I do not believe she will be the villain. I believe she will be requesting Doctor Strange's help to get the kids back and bring them in, because we do know that based off of what we've seen already in Falcon and Winter Soldier, they will be adding Patriot, they will be adding the twins, they will be adding Kate Bishop's Hawkeye, and this is the plan for Young Avengers, which is supposedly going to be the final piece of Phase 4 of the MCU on the TV series side of things. So they're setting it all up, so they have to get back the twins for them to be able to be a part of this, because you got Cassie Lang, you have Kate Bishop, you have you have Iron Lad, you have Patriot, you have the twins. You can do a storyline for Young Avengers with this core group.
I totally agree with you, and that's something that I've been thinking about a lot. I hit on my last video on YouTube. Young Avengers, I think they're leaning towards a West Coast Avengers, maybe a modified version using the spectral vision instead of actual vision from the comics. I think the introduction of John Walker, I think he's going to end up at some point turning, and he'll be he looks like he's turning and going down a really bad road, and we'll get into that. But I think at the end of the day, they might actually want to keep him around as well. So there are, characters like that. But I also think, and we're going to get more into this, but I think Thunderbolt Ross and the Weapon Plus program, I think they're leaning towards Dark Avengers as well. So we're going to get into Falcon Winter Soldier now, since that is WandaVision in a nutshell. I guess kind of wrapping this up in a bow, I thought the TV show was phenomenal. I really enjoyed it. I don't know, when people ask me, is this better than Falcon Winter Soldier? I don't think it's fair to say. They're so different. One has 9 episodes. The other one has 6. We've only seen 3 of them. So I can't really say 100% that, one is better than the other when they're that different. One has way more action. The other one is more story-based. So I really couldn't tell you what is better, but I definitely appreciated WandaVision for what it was. I loved the Easter eggs. I loved the subtle callbacks, using the commercials, the Nexus commercial. And I just thought it was so creative with Lagos and, the blood that was spilled. And then they have, the Lagos paper towels cleaning up the red drink, and just all those certain things I thought were so clever to throw those in, those ties, because as we know, Marvel, it may take 10 years to have a callback, but they're always going to pay something off. I mean, we saw it in Falcon Winter Soldier, which we're going to go into now, with the whole Steve Rogers Captain America in the museum thing. I don't know if you guys saw that picture.
It's fantastic.
It's so good. It's so good.
Clever.
This is why I love this everything about MCU so much, is because it's just done they care. They go through everything with a fine-tooth comb where others may not. And I think at the end of the day, people notice that. So, well, obviously, you and I both noticed it. So, all right, moving on to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Gotta say, this really is blowing me away right now. Really impressed with this show, ultimately. Was super psyched when they announced that Zemo would come back. Love his character. Love the actor. And I love Sebastian Stan, so I'm glad we're able to see more of him and having humility, being more of a human instead of kind of like a cybernetic type of, that's how he feels anyway. And then you have, of course, Sam Wilson, played by Anthony Mackie, who is just a great actor as well. We got some Sharon Carter in there. Very big fan of hers. And we got, I always forget her name. I know I'm going to forget her name. But the lady that plays Carly, I forget her. I knew I forget her.
Erin Kellyman. Erin Kellyman is her name.
Erin Kellyman. She plays Carly Morgenthau, and she's great. If you recognize her, she was Emphas Nest in Solo. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I noticed that. I was like, oh my God, that's her. But she's not necessarily on the good side of things. She feels like she is. It's kind of a similar character as Emphas Nest, but you find out she's not really on the good side of things. So we're going to go to Joe. Joe, what are your thoughts so far through 3 episodes of Falcon Winter Soldier? Any theories or takeaways from this show?
Right now, I don't really have any theories from the show because, I mean, like you alluded to it, there's a 6-episode series. We've only seen half of them. So some theories probably that we have, I haven't formulated yet, and I got to, see the other 3 to, fully formulate that. I was a little hesitant at the end of Endgame where we saw Cap go back in time, reunite with Peggy, essentially give up the mantle, come back 70 years later as an old man. He passes on the mantle to Falcon, but unfortunately that doesn't work. And he, as you have mentioned, puts the shield on at the museum. So I'm a little hesitant with the new Captain America and John Walker, but I gotta see a little bit more from him. But then again, that might just be from my own side of things because we grew up with I'm forgetting his name right now. The
Steve
guy
Rogers.
the guy who played him.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans.
Chris Evans. That's it. Thank
There's a
you.
lot of Chris, man.
Because here's another thing that we forget. Chris Evans didn't start as Captain America. He started as the Human Torch in the good Fantastic Four. Because as we can all agree, the new one was mediocre, and that's a nice way of saying
that's way too nice.
That's what's that nice way, mediocre.
Might be the worst movie of all time.
Okay, that's fair. But maybe that's just me personally that I gotta see a little bit more before I can even bring him into the Chris Evans side of things, because Chris Evans just took that role to new heights, much like our RDJ took it for Iron Man, much like our childhood, Tobey Maguire took it for Spider-Man and all that. It's just that mindset that I have that I got to see a little bit more before I can really give a full analysis on. But I do like the child of Baron Zemo coming in episode 2.
So I will say I don't think you should get introduced to him entirely as Captain America. I think John Walker is going to stay around in the MCU, but I think he's going to be U.S. agent like he is in the comics. I don't think he's going to stick as the Captain America. I know people were very quick, like when the trailer came out and they already saw Sam Wilson donning that donning that look and having the shield. They were like, oh, he must have died really early on. But here we are going into episode 4 and he is not dead yet. So there's 6 episodes. He could die or something like that. I think they're going to keep him around. I think it'd be a waste to kill him off, to be honest with you. Because I do think he's a good character, and he has that, little bit of, they added that humility in episode 2 where you actually saw he has something to lose in that significant other that he has in his life that they haven't really specified on. Plus, I think Battlestar is going to be somebody that they want to keep around as well. So I don't think that necessarily he's going to take up the mantle of Captain America. I think it's always going to be Falcon becoming that. I'm interested in Torres becoming Falcon because that does happen in the comics. So we'll see if that sticks, as what happens in the comics. We'll see what they do. They don't always go directly by the comics. So we'll see with that. Moving on, Ashton, where are we at? Your theories and takeaways early on Falcon Winter Soldier.
Yeah, so I have been someone out of all the announced TV shows they have, this was the lowest for them, at least for me. I'm not the biggest fan of the Falcon character in the comics or in the movies. And the same thing with the Winter Soldier. They're just both kind of meh. And to be honest, the first 2 episodes of this show, they reminded me of the first 15, 20 minutes of Avengers 2. That opening scene, I felt like I was watching that on repeat for 2 episodes. To me, it was a lot of mindless or visual noise. It was a lot of action scenes with no meaning. They were well done, but to me, it didn't really get into the plot until mid-second episode as much as I wanted to. The Flag Smashers, I was not buying them as villains, and they kind of made it out like this. For the first guy you see that beats up Torres in the street, he kind of disappears. So I don't know if that was supposed to be a main character or not. I don't think that was supposed to be the girl either. So to me, it was a little disjointed, but I really liked the 3rd episode. It started to hook me on the 3rd episode. And I actually think I'm going to put out a hot take on here. I think Sharon Carter is the power broker. I actually think she is the one pulling the strings, kind of trying to mislead them. I think that would be a good twist. I hope they explain the shift in her character arc. It could be interesting if they do it well. As we know, they don't go exactly by the comics. And plus, Baron Zemo, I like him a lot more. I didn't like him in Civil War. I thought he was kind of lazy writing on a part of that movie to justify them fighting somewhat. I didn't think they gave him a lot of good character moments in that movie, but I'm starting to like him a lot more in this episode, or in the third episode of Winter Soldier. Yeah.
So you said Sharon Carter as the power broker. I thought that was interesting because I've heard all sorts of stuff about Kingpin, and I don't buy it. I think it'd be way too early for Kingpin. I don't even think they have his rights yet, or if they do, it wouldn't happen now. I think it is Thunderbolt Ross. I think this is actually tying into Black Widow, and I think there's a reason why they're still so inclined on releasing Black Widow and not just canceling the whole thing. Because the fact of the matter is this: I think the end credits of Black Widow is going to tie into this TV show, and I think you already know Thunderbolt Ross is his obsession with the serum. I guarantee that he's the power broker, and Sharon Carter is somebody that is just because she didn't get a pardon like Captain America and Sam Wilson did. So I'm actually wondering if she is she's working for Thunderbolt Ross to get that pardon. That's honestly kind of because look at her emotional connection when Nagel is killed in episode 3. She's like, what have you done? Like, and then she has multiple problems, and then she goes off on her own with some unknown driver. I just don't feel like this all adds up. So I do find that very interesting. Shane, what are your thoughts on the show so far?
It might be early to think this, but I think with Bucky, I think this is all leading up to him eventually going back to Wakanda and really taking on the White Wolf mantle. They called him that at the end of Black Panther, and then they reminded him that in the show. And for those that don't know, I'll know this, but White Wolf was the adopted brother of T'Challa. And now with our Black Panther gone, rest in peace. It looks like Shuri's going to take over the mantle. I'm not sure what angle they're going to take with that, but I would have to think that. And he even mentioned that the happiest that he's been in his life since when he was in the war was that time he spent in Wakanda. Finding peace. Finding that about himself. So I think he's going to take on that mantle more, so to speak. And eventually, it's going to lead to him. He's not going to take the crown in Wakanda, but I think it's going to lead to him being a Wakandan citizen, so to speak.
I like that, and that's kind of. I think I hit on that in my last video. I know he wasn't actually that wasn't his alter ego in the comics. Right. I get that, but Disney takes some things. And the MCU will take some things and be like, well, I like that, but I don't like exactly how I did, because the comics do throw stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And I think ultimately they're going to take things that they like. They actually, there was people that were complaining about Scarlet Witch's costume not being comic book authentic and Vision's costume not being comic book authentic. So what does the MCU do? In WandaVision, they had that Halloween episode to kind of point fun, oh, here you go. This is why, by the way, that we don't have them like this, because they look ridiculous. They look good for one episode on Halloween, but we couldn't stick to this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So my point is that, he doesn't need to be it doesn't have to be comic book accurate. If you find, and I think they've actually done a good job, creating that connection with Bucky Barnes and Wakanda. And obviously the end scene of episode 3, I think you're right. And that's kind of where I've been leaning as well. As far as taking up the mantle, I would have Shuri, or I would have, back in time with the multiverse, I'd have an alternate version of Killmonger, which I've said, I know John is going to talk about that in a minute as well. He's also said that. Another thing, Jakara is actually his brother in the comics, and Jakara hasn't even been mentioned yet in the MCU. Right. And I would hope to God that they wouldn't do that. Whatever they did in the comics with he had this armor, whatever happened with the vibranium, and he got mutated. I hope they just stick away from that if they introduce him. But I could see them introducing Jakara as well. John, what are your take? What's your take on the Falcon Winter Soldier?
I have so many takes. A lot of them were already taken, though. So first, I've been enjoying the show. Madripoor, what that means for Wolverine. I mean, for Wolverine and X-Men stuff, whether it's just an Easter egg or not, I thought was awesome and really well done. Bringing back Swag Daddy Zemo, I thought was really nice. He had more character development in 45 minutes than he had in a 3-hour movie. I love what they did. With him. I see Daniel Bruhl actually get like a real character arc that made sense. I think you're partly right, Jake, about Thunderbolt Ross. I think clearly, there's been leaks about what the end credit scene in Black Widow is going to be. We're clearly going to get the Thunderbolts. We're going to get Red Hulk. I do not believe he's a power broker. I think the power broker is working with him. I think the power broker is Armin Zola. Okay. You saw the green screen real quickly when they mentioned the power broker. Last time we saw Zola, he was a computer image. I think that would make a lot of sense. It ties back into Bucky. I think would bring that story arc really, I think, getting nicely together. But I do think Thunderbolt Ross is somehow going to play a role.
That dude's been in it from the beginning.
It's going to play a role in this show. And we'll probably even see him or hear him. And clearly he's got a big part in Black Widow, which I think you're right. It's just why that's coming out in July. There's sort of a rush to get that out. I've loved what they're doing. I think it's been awesome. I think we're going to see U.S. Agent, like you said. I think they introduced a new Captain America so everybody could hate him. And he certainly has done a nice job with that. I give Wyatt Russell credit. He's like embraced the hate that I knew he was going to get.
I agree.
Kurt Russell's son, for anybody out there that doesn't know, is the actor. I've loved it. There's just a huge amount of things that can happen, and I'll save my multiverse of madness thoughts and that kind of stuff when we get there. But I'm really enjoying Falcon and Winter Soldier more than I thought.
I mean, everything you said, I think the Armin Zola thing is a really nice take there. That's a good one. I haven't heard that. And I watched like all sorts of, theory videos and things like that. And just takeaways and the Easter eggs, but not one of them has mentioned Armin Zola. So there you go.
They showed the green, like old screen when they talked about the power broker.
Yeah.
I just thought that's where it kind of clicked for me, but who knows? It probably is Thunderbolt Ross.
Well, if you're right, you have video evidence and no one else on YouTube has said it. So there you go.
We need to come to Jake Ellenbogen's show to prove it here on April 5th.
There we go. All right. So Jordan, what are your thoughts on this show so far?
Well, let me start by saying maybe you and me shouldn't be talking so much, Jake, because we talk every day on theories and we tend to agree on a lot of things. And I was waiting. I was like, damn, he stole my theory. So, I do. Let me start though by saying, on Brandon Davis with Zemo, he had a good tweet. He goes, Zemo at least has class. John Walker's just a dick. And, and I think that's a big reason why people like Zemo. I do hope he becomes more of an anti-hero. Obviously, he's a villain at heart, and he's like an evil Bruce Wayne in a sense, with all his money and everything. But back to the power broker, there is something up with Shang Carter. I think it's pretty clear. And she's super rich all of a sudden and has all these fancy paintings. And I asked myself, I was on the board that she's a power broker. But is that he wants that serum so bad that he's going to bring all these people together, the Thunderbolts, and I think it's going to be led by John Walker, and I think he's going to give John Walker the serum because I don't know if there's 8 or 12 serums left, but I think one of them will go to John Walker for sure. I think Sharon may take one. I can even see a world where Falcon does, but I do think those serums are going to be given to his little group of team, the Thunderbolts, and I do think it will be led by John Walker. Now, another theory I have with the whole Wakanda thing, which is really good theory, and I do think we are going to get to see Wakanda in this episode. I saw, and rest in peace, Chadwick. I don't know how I like this, but I saw something that I really do think could happen where they take Zemo back to Wakanda for Chadwick. He wants still revenge for him killing his father, T'Chaka. And I could see a world where that's where they kind of play into T'Challa's death. So I don't know if it's whether it's Zemo that does it or something, he does something where it explodes and, they reference that T'Challa died. Because I know they're going to show that somehow. So I think this would be a perfect way if Chadwick already filmed scenes for this show. They could kind of do it in that sense. I'm not too sure on that. I do ask myself though, we're halfway through the show. There's only 3 episodes left. and I'm still kind of waiting for them. And I love the show. I'm still kind of waiting for them to hit that in my head because we're halfway through the show, and I feel like there's still a lot of story left to tell. So it's hard to see where it's going to go. I do think if it had 9 or 10 episodes, it would have been better. But we maybe look back on this and be like, oh, 6 episodes was perfect. It was like a longer movie. They told the story right. And it's easy for me as the fan that I am to not want to give into theories and not to just want more and more and more and just keep elevating that because I know there's a lot of stuff coming in the next year. I wanted it to pick up a little bit. I want to see more of the storyline. Sam's getting, we see him off the tree and Bucky catch it. I'm wondering how they're going to do this all in 3 episodes. So that is a concern of mine, and I hope it ties together well.
I get that. I think what you said about that, I think we're also kind of thinking in terms, we're so used to WandaVision ending in like 26 minutes that we haven't gotten used to like the fact they actually are giving us like true television episodes now that are almost like an hour long. So I do think that they'll be able to, it does seem like it's cool because it doesn't feel like it goes too fast. Like I know it always feels that way, but like with WandaVision, it felt like it went way too fast. With Falcon Winter Soldier, I feel like the pacing's great, and I never ever feel like I'm, like, wow, that episode went way too fast. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's just a good, a good length for sure. Carl, what are your thoughts on this show?
Well, I don't have a whole lot of, theories as far as what's coming next. But I want to kind of revisit what we talked about with WandaVision, seeing the world after the blip. I like that they make sure that it's not like a forgotten thing, because I was kind of concerned about that when everyone came back. But they do make sure that that's a part of the plot line. I'm also enjoying kind of how they're kind of touching on some social issues with Sam, as far as like, we saw the interaction with Sam and Bucky and the police officers that came up on him, or even from when Sam was trying to help his sister out, couldn't get a loan from the bank. He's an Avenger,
Yeah.
And just it's crazy.
They asked him for a picture. Like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah, and it also solved one thing that I always wondered, like, were these guys getting paid? Apparently, they weren't. It's funny. Like Tony Stark was kind of running it, and I guess he wasn't breaking anybody off any money. So. But yeah, I'm definitely enjoying the show, and I really enjoyed the last episode. I thought it was great for developing Zemo's character. I thought the ending was great with the lady from Wakanda showing up. So just looking forward to seeing what's coming down.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And Ao actually was in she was in Black Panther, but she was also in Civil War.
Yep.
So I actually remembered her. I know there were a lot of people that are Googling like frantically, who is this? And it's like, that's not Okoye. It's like, no, it's Ao, who's second in command to Okoye. Cole, what are your thoughts on this? Not this episode, this show as a whole.
So I got a lot. I'll start with this. I think a lot of people are kind of missing this as well. But the one thing that I appreciate about the Captain America franchise is they took an idea and went against the grain, really kind of setting up these other movies to do similar effects. We know it's basic superhero movies, how they act, how they really are. But when they made Captain America and the Winter Soldier, it was a spy movie that was told with a superhero lead. They're going back to that style for this show, which is completely different than anything else that the MCU has given us over the last 7 years. So what you can appreciate about this is that they're showing different styles to make the universe more broader. They're making it more different storytellings. And it's something that I think is a lot of great writing from a literature standpoint and from how to storytell. I've always loved Daniel Bruce Gruel. I think he's a phenomenal actor, and the first time I ever saw him was when he played Nicky Loudon in that racing movie. I always forget the name of it. But they did his character so dirty in Civil War. And I love Civil War. I think it's a fabulous movie. I think it's very well written. I think that the tensions between Tony and Cap, it makes a lot of sense. But this is a very high-end character who is a brilliant mastermind. He's great at getting people and getting what he wants. And the biggest thing of all, it's a lot like Heath Ledger's Joker. There's not a moral behind it. He's not there to gain anything on this. He's not doing this for power. He wants the world to burn. And he wants people to feel the pain that he's feeling right now. And that's why I very much love this character. And the fact that you got a full episode with him finding about his backstory, because a lot of people don't know he's a Baron. I mean, his real name is Baron von Zemo in the comics. So everyone's just like, oh, Zemo, who's that? Oh, it's a Baron. They kind of did it like how they forgot about Baron von Strucker in Age of Ultron. They kind of just reeled right over him. So to get a backstory with him is great. What I will say is, anyone who has a problem with Wyatt Russell and forcing the man to delete his Twitter, come on. Like, we get it. We know that he's not going to be Captain America. And if you read the comics, you know he's also not Captain America. He's actually Super Patriot, and then he's I'm blanking on the other
U.S. agent.
U.S. agent. So he's not going to be it forever. Like, he's going to be it for 6 episodes, and then, all right, we're going to retire it. We're going to change the name to U.S. agent. And to make the man delete his Twitter because of you just literally belittle the crap out of him. Come on.
I mean, it literally screams he's Diet Captain America. It's like screaming to you. They purposely picked someone who didn't look like a Captain America. Like, people are just
they picked the best person to play Captain America, who is the most muscular without the super serum. And it showed, hey, what happens if we give a normal person Captain America? This is why you don't give a normal person Captain America. So I do actually believe that he will be part of the super serum. I'm on the path of General Ross. I very much am. And for anyone who doesn't know General Ross in the comics, he ultimately becomes Red Hulk, which is another form of gamma radiation. And it helps sets up for the She-Hulk show that will be coming out in, I believe, 2022 or 2023. So there's another element that adds to that storyline. I think that Ross's main mission has been, since he's been in the MCU, is to have control and to have the final say in everything.
Absolutely.
And the biggest thing is he now has that with John Walker, because John Walker is first and foremost a United States military man. He represents exactly what the military is supposed to be. And what you do, you follow orders. He knows he can control him and he can control Steve. So I do believe that he is somewhat a part of this, and he will go to the means by any means necessary to make sure that he comes out on top. But the story arc is great. The writing is fabulous. They're touching on a lot of good things. And the one line that really hits home for, I think, a lot of people is when Bucky and Sam are talking to the therapist, and he goes, if he was wrong about you, maybe he was wrong about me. It shows, and a lot of people are also like, well, why did Bucky not want to go back and do what Cap did? Well, long story short, and I won't take up much time, Bucky's lived his life. Cap was frozen for 70 years. Bucky, even though he doesn't like the memories, was forced to live through those memories. All they are bad memories of knowing that even though there's a part of him that is living his life in the future, in the past, there's a part of him that still has to go through and do all these terrible deeds for, the universe not to break. So I truly believe that is a powerful line, and it's really setting up for a big tensional scene between Sam and Bucky at some point in the season finale. So very well written. I love that they're doing back to the kind of the spy novel. And what it's really doing is it's opening more avenues for Marvel to take bigger risks with other shows down the line, with Loki, with Hawkeye, with what they are going to do with Blade, what they are going to do with Deadpool. It's allowing them to open up these other doors for people to have more opinions and more different styles of writing.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, and I think Thunderbolt Ross is somebody that, I've been waiting for that payoff for a while, but you know what else I've been waiting? Well, what else I am waiting for, the payoff I'm waiting for, is that they announced Isaiah Bradley, in this. And, look, I think having the old Captain America who basically never got any sort of the credit that Steve Rogers got, I thought introducing him early on in this show, they set something up there. He will be back in some case. They're going to pay that off. The weird thing is they actually they aged him. I don't know if you guys caught that. Like that actor is not that old. So they aged him to look that old. But yeah, I think he's going to be in it. As you've already mentioned, Cole, Patriot, the Young Avengers. I really like the way this show has been done. So, I mean, adding Wakanda to this, obviously I think it's the best scene, the best scenery, the best setting that you could have. It's definitely something that I'm really happy to see that they could be doing a crossover here with AO showing up at the end of the last episode. So I think that's going to do it for Falcon and Winter Soldier. I think we talked a bunch on that. Now we have a series that just in the nick of time, we get a brand new trailer for, and that is the Loki Disney Plus series that I literally cannot wait for. Owen Wilson is back. And where was he? Have you seen that guy acting? Where has he been? I have not seen him anywhere. So he's actually going to be a part of the Time Variance Authority. Love that they're adding that angle to it. And I love Tom Hiddleston. He's a phenomenal actor. I love that they set up this TV series by just a small portion of Endgame. They just took a small scene in Endgame and set up an entire TV series just based on that. So that's really cool. I find that really interesting. Joe, what are your thoughts on, the Loki series? Any expectations, anything, moving into that?
Okay, so just to clarify, the thing that you shared earlier on Twitter this morning before all this today, that was what you're referring to with this new Loki series? Okay, because I honestly have yet to watch said trailer. But my expectations for this Loki series are, as you just said, Tom Hiddleston is a phenomenal actor. The way he's portrayed Thor's younger brother is nothing short of a masterpiece. He plays it so perfectly, so cunning, so clever. Just everything that he did with the Tesseract in the first Avengers all the way through Endgame. As you said, they used one little scene to set up a whole TV series. So if we get the Loki that we saw in just phase 2 and 3 of the MCU, if we just get even 20%, I'll go as low, just 20% at a minimum, we get that much of that Tom Hiddleston, we are going to have probably one of the best TV series from Marvel in probably series history.
It's looking like, they really have, they can do whatever they want. And this budget for this show has to be massive. I look at just everything around the scenery, the detail that was put into it, and I'm just like, bro, this budget is absolutely massive. And they are going to introduce so many things. I know they're playing on that. There's that one agent years ago, they said he jumped out of a plane and they never found him. I always forget the guy's name. They're going to play off that. It's going to be a bunch of different Lokis throughout these timelines. Yeah. And I think it was the first trailer. If you remember, Loki's sitting there and he's talking to Owen Wilson, and they show this clip up on the slideshow. I think that was them showing him dying and him being killed by Thanos. And I think they're giving him a mulligan. Look, we can bring you back. We can give you a life, but you have to help us out. And so I think they're using that as leverage. And I'm really excited. It looks a lot of fun. It's a lot of action. The cinematography looks insane. I think we're going to get the female Loki character in there. A lot of stuff going on. But Ashton, what are your thoughts and expectations going into this show?
Yeah, Loki was the one show when I saw the slate of shows when Marvel presented them. That was the one where I was like, I don't know how to feel about it because I didn't know what they were going to do with the character. But the trailers have won me over. Like, both trailers that they came out, like, he is so good as a character. He's just electric. He has that same thing the Joker from The Dark Knight has, where like when he's on screen, you want to watch him, watch that character, how he interacts with other people, what he's doing. He's so witty. They've written him so well, and I really think he's going to be well written in this Loki series. To answer your question about the budget, they have released that WandaVision's budget was 25 million. So I think this one looks like it'll be around 25, 30, maybe 35 million, which is for a TV show, if anyone doesn't understand, that's a big budget. That's a lot of money put into a TV show, and it looks fantastic. With theories, I think the Living Tribunal will show up at least for an episode or two. I think you're gonna see them dish out some cosmic justice. If people don't know in the comics, the Living Tribunal is basically the being that is like the judge, jury, and executioner for people who try to destroy the fabric of reality. That's the best way to describe them. So I think we'll see that. You see them in the trailer as statues, but you don't see them physically. I think we will see them once in this series. So I'm looking forward to it. Tom Hiddleston is not God, but like a amazing actor. He's one of the best villains in the MCU. Yeah. And Owen Wilson, man, them together. I love that little promo they did making fun of Falcon and Winter Soldier. That was just so. They're doing a great job so far at advertising the series. So I'm interested to see what other people think. Theories about him being a variant. I think that's interesting. I know in Endgame you had Doctor Strange's master talking to Hulk, kind of explaining how like everything has to flow correctly in time, and the TVA are the people that make sure that it's enforced, that timeline's enforced. If you're wondering who enforces that, that's them. So it'll be interesting how Owen Wilson plays into the rest of Marvel.
I absolutely agree with you. I think showing the time variance authority, like I love it, man. I love this. This has, like I said, this has the potential to be the best TV series that they come out with. It's just going to be so creative, and it kind of gives us a little taste of where they might go with the multiverse. You know, it's kind of like introducing, like I felt like WandaVision. This is how I took it anyway. You look in 2020. There was nothing, right? We get WandaVision in 2021, and it just kind of slowly immerses us back in the MCU. Hey, guys, in case you haven't seen us in a while, because you haven't, here's WandaVision. And it slowly immerses us back. It takes us back to, Pietro mentioning and Wanda going back to Hydra and Vision, and I just thought it did a nice job. And then once it gets you and immerses you in this world, then it's like, okay, here's Sword, here's all this stuff. We added Spectral Vision, by the way, and here comes Scarlet Witch, and now the Multiverse of Madness. But you guys have to wait another year to see that. Like that, I thought they did that well. They immersed people slowly but surely into the action, which I appreciated. Carl, I don't know how you jumped ahead of Shane.
I don't know, man.
You wow, man.
It's fine.
You just teleported.
My bad.
Hey, we'll say Loki used the Tesseract and he just teleported in front of Shane.
All right, Carl. Since you can't wait your turn. What are your thoughts on this show, my guy?
Yeah, well, I've been looking forward to this one too. I saw the trailer this morning. I've only watched it once. Probably gonna watch it again when we finish. But I can't remember if they announced the show before or after Endgame. But I remember sitting in the theater in Endgame and watching them grab the Tesseract and just disappear. And like, okay, so that's a plot hole or something. Like, how they gonna resolve this? Then they come out. Oh, there's a Loki show. I think it was before that, and we were trying to figure out because Loki was dead. How is he coming back? Yeah, that's what it was. But yeah, it's Loki, man. He's a top 3 villain, I think, in the MCU, and it's good to see him back on screen and gonna have a little more time because I felt like we kind of got robbed not seeing him, but for 5 minutes in Endgame. But I mean, I'm sorry, in Infinity War. So looking forward to that.
I hear you. I'm really looking forward to that. I just think it's so funny how they literally took this small piece in Endgame and they're like, "Oh, here's a TV show entirely based on it." Shane,
I love how. Sorry.
Oh no, go ahead. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was gonna say I just love like we mentioned earlier, man. Marvel's attention to detail. Like to us, it's like it's nothing. It's just a small little scene, but they've got a whole plan for it already. Like
Oh yeah. I mean, we saw that in Incredible Hulk, and that was literally made at Universal Studios. So, you know what I mean? Like, that wasn't even a Disney movie, and they had already put things in there to build into the Avengers. And, like, they use callbacks of that movie, like, during, I think I want to say either Civil War or I think it's Age of Ultron. Banner, who's played by a different character, of course, it's not the same actor. But Mark Ruffalo mentions he says something about it's like one of the cities that they destroy him and the Abomination destroy. I think it's Harlem.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, they don't really like me in Harlem. And I was like, oh, I know what he means by that. Shane, what are your thoughts on this show?
2 things before I get to that. Number one, I agree with Carl that Loki was one of the top 3 villains of the MCU because, one, he got the ability to develop over time. Thanos is another one, and Killmonger had the ability to develop in one movie and might be the best villain overall in the MCU. And Michael B. Jordan, I like the idea of him coming back as like a different timeline kind of Black Panther because he killed that role. He really did.
Oh, absolutely.
Another thing, I guess the one thing that I'm looking at with this one is, you remember that scene in the trailer when you see the timelines kind of splitting out, kind of like roots and all that? That reminded me in Endgame when they talked about taking the different points to bring the Infinity Stones back to where they originally came from. And the whole sole purpose, the whole sole purpose of the show was to fix the timelines. I think that one is how Loki survived, and also I think that's how they're gonna like justify bringing back to life potentially some of these people that we lost. Like Black Widow died in Endgame, but she's obviously got a movie coming out. And if you look at the timing of it all, the last episode of Loki will come out right about the time that Black Widow comes out. So I think that kind of will justify, like, if you have to watch the show first and then the movie, to if Black Widow actually survives, so to speak, if they would bring her back. I don't think Cap comes back before anyone jumps on that. I don't think Iron Man comes back because they made their own decision. They decided their own fate. But Loki, him coming back, we'll start with that one. I think that also might have to do with, I think that also ties in with the Witch a little bit and how where her future with whether this new Vision or potentially her kids comes in. We got a little teaser with that when we heard the kids' voices in the last episode. I think this show might be the one that really officially sort of ends Phase 3 and kind of transitions Phase 4 just because it'll tie in everything around it.
I see that. And, you mentioned, during that with Loki, you started talking about Black Widow. I do think there's finality there. I do think Black Widow did die, and I don't think she's coming back because I think Yelena Belova is taking over as the next Black Widow. So I see what you're saying there. Now we'll get into it.
I'm not saying that she goes back to Black Widow. I'm saying she comes back to life. She might get a happy ending after all, but she might just retire, so to speak, the way Hawkeye's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she'll be back, but that's a theory. Another one I've heard, people don't think Steve Rogers is dead. They think that Steve Rogers, like how they kind of made fun of it. Torres said, well, I hear he's on the moon. They don't necessarily think he's dead, and they think he could be on the Sword spaceship. And I honestly don't rule that out, but we're sticking with Loki here. And now the order's all messed up because, apparently this dude wanted to cut in front of everyone. Now he wants to go to the back of the line. Cole, tell me what you think, my man.
Okay, so Loki, for starters, is going to be, in my opinion, the best show. Of the 4 that we know are coming out in 2021, early 2022, Loki will be the best show. Because I think people also they underestimate how talented Mr. Wow really actually is at playing a character. Yeah, he's not just wow. He's actually a really talented actor when you really get around. Owen Wilson's fantastic. And I love this storyline. Mobius as the time cop. But there are theories out there that I truly believe this is not going to be this whole buddy cop situation show. I actually believe they're going to get really deep in some of these things. And the one that I think they're going to get most deep in, they're going to show a reality where they didn't kill Coulson. Because everyone forgets Loki kills Agent Coulson, which brought into the show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they never mentioned the show. But they've admitted, multiple times, Kevin Feige has admitted, that the show does exist in the same reality as the MCU. And Agent Coulson was a stud character. I
love Agent Coulson.
Everyone loved the actor, Greg. I forget his last name. But they loved him so much that they gave him the show on ABC, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I do believe you will have him back. I believe that he will be reintroduced in a different timeline. And keep in mind, here's another theory that a lot of people are kind of putting together. When you look in the photo, it's very similar to that looks like a branch kind of thing. It's very similar to the same timeline structure that the Ancient One showed Bruce Banner in Endgame. It shows how it breaks off into multiple realities.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Ralph Boner may be Ralph Boner in this reality. He may be Pietro Machinoff in a different reality, which brings him in, and Evan Peters stays on the show as a Quicksilver character. The one thing I do really like more than anything else, Clark Gregg was his name. Thank you, guys. But the one thing I do think as well, they're going to set this up with the quantum realm because how time reality changes. That's going to set up Ant-Man and Wasp's Quantumanium. I do believe that the character they're announcing, I forget the actor's name, Jonathan Majors. He's going to be ending up playing Kang the Conqueror. He's going to be really more so involved in the Quantumania show than anything else. But again, I think a lot of people don't remember just how talented of an actor Tom Hiddleston is. And honestly, so often he would carry those Thor movies. I think that when you look at the Thor movies as a whole that were directed by Kenneth Branagh before they switched over to Taika Waititi in Thor Ragnarok, the biggest thing was they tried to do a Shakespearean show, which Chris Hemsworth did not have much practice in before going on and playing Thor. Tom Hiddleston started his career in Shakespearean acting in London. He did a bunch of different shows of William Shakespeare. He did The Tempest. He did Twelfth Night. He did Romeo and Juliet. So he fit what Kenneth Branagh's vision was, and he was the driving force of those movies. I do think you're going to have something very similar to that with this TV show. A lot of people are going the buddy cop way. I think this is going to be more of, this is what you've done, and we're going to make you relive it through. And it's going to be brutal hell for him to where we finally do get the anti-hero, more hero side of Loki moving forward. But all in all, of the series that are coming out, this is the one I've been the most hyped for. This is the one that I think has the most potential to re-alter a lot of different things in the MCU. And because of the quantum realm that was introduced in Ant-Man and the Wasp, it's opened up so many different avenues for different stories, and especially for the What If series that's going to come out, I think, in 2022, about all these alternate storylines of what if happened on these alternate realities.
Now, question for you real quick, mini question. Do you think What If will have any sort of like canon ties to it?
Nah, I don't. I think it's going to be more so of, I mean, maybe a little, but I think it's more so because of, again, they're also saying that part of it's going to be animated. I think it's just more so going to be a complete storyline of ideas that Marvel did throw around when they were brainstorming in the meetings of what they actually want for the movies. And then instead they'll go, okay, well, this was the reality we would have done if we went this way. I think it's more so going to be a more commentary thing with Kevin Feige than it will a actual big time TV show.
I dig that. I think there was the Agent Carter. If she actually got the super soldier serum and not Steve Rogers, I like that idea.
I've heard that they're gonna do something with Monica Rambeau. They're gonna do something with
T'Challa as Star-Lord.
Yeah, T'Challa is the one that gets picked up. What happens if Peter Quill never left Earth? They're gonna do something along the lines of that. And there was another one, another big character. I don't remember if it's not Tony, but I don't know if it's Thor. If Thor was deemed unworthy, and I think it might be Thor was deemed unworthy, and Loki was deemed worthy by Odin, and he actually gets Mjolnir.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm actually that was actually on the docket, so we can talk a little bit about that if anybody has any ideas. I think everybody's gone except for Jordan. You guys keep flip-flopping everything going on.
I got kicked out. My bad.
No, I'm messing with you guys. It's all good. All right, Jordan, what are your thoughts on Loki?
When we started Cold Thunder about saying wow, I was so ready to say it, but then it happens. But Hail King Loki! I have been so excited for this to happen ever since they announced it. It's #1 show that I'm ready for. And beyond, a lot of online saying, "Oh, that's Black Widow in the trailer." But they've been the last years, and you and me have agreed on this a ton, Jake, that it's Loki. And if anyone's her, big villain. And then same with Mobius, one of the leaders of the Time Variance Authority. So what I think, and I would bet, not life savings, but all a penny, that what I think is going to happen for him to be pardoned, to be released. He's going to go after all these visions of Loki. And so I think we're going to see a lady Loki. We're going to see a young Loki. And I think, one of the things that I had heard, and I do believe this is going to happen, is he's going to go to reality where Thor's evil and he was the good one. And I think we're going to see that. And I think that'd be really cool to see, especially seeing it on the screen, have Chris Hemsworth be a bad version of Thor. I just think that'd be really
so hyped to see Loki. No, not Loki. Tom Hiddleston as Thor. Because if you guys don't know, Tom Hiddleston actually tried out to be Thor. And it wasn't just like you guys have probably heard about Elizabeth Olsen, auditioning for the role of Daenerys in Game of Thrones, and it went horrible. But as she explains, it lasted it was very short. It was maybe 2 times or 1 time. They actually Tom Hiddleston had been auditioning for 6 months.
He looks so weird with the blonde wig too in that video. I'm just I can't even. So I could see them doing that where he's, where he has blonde hair and he's, Thor, and then Chris Hemsworth somehow has a black wig on and is, evil. I think that'd be funny. I do think it's going to explore, the different realities, and I'm excited to see that, especially when in the first trailer we got, when he jumps out of the plane, he says brother, and then he says Heimdall. And Heimdall dies in Infinity War. So if we get to see him back again, I think that'd be really cool.
He's confirmed for Thor: Love and Thunder, so there's got to be something going on.
And I think, too, I do think this is going to tie a lot, and this is not anything that we've talked about, but I think there's going to be something either at the end or some point of the show. It's going to tie directly to Thor: Love and Thunder to some extent.
I think so. I also think I'll do a prediction here. I think this will be the first TV show of all of them that will get a second season, and the only that will get a second season, because I think all of them will tell their story, and I feel like Loki, they'll be like, we can kind of do whatever we want with this, and I think they'll get a second season, and it'll probably come after Thor. It'll probably come after Multiverse of Madness, so it'll add on to it. Yeah. Next is Black Widow. And, we've already talked about this a little bit. I've already discussed my thoughts on it. I do think Thunderbolt Ross is behind everything. I think he's the kingpin. But one thing that's really interesting is that Eric Voss, if you guys don't follow him, you need to go and follow him. Subscribe to New Rockstars. They do an incredible job of breaking down videos and trailers and all sorts of stuff. And he had this theory that literally blew my mind. He took just a little bit of this this brand new trailer, because we also got a brand new trailer for Black Widow. He comes out with this, the brand new trailer Black Widow. He breaks it down, and he makes this theory that now I actually think is pretty legit, that Taskmaster in Black Widow is actually Natasha Romanoff and it back in time. And here's the thing. Now, he basically was saying when she was falling from, that high mountain on Vormir, she was falling from that high mountain on Vormir. You see like the shadow, like you don't see her hit the ground like immediately, right? You don't see her falling and hitting the ground. They pan away and then they show it, right? So his argument was that before she passed away, she knew she had a Pym particle left. She activated it so quick that she eventually hit the ground, but we didn't get to see it. So when all that smoke and everything was in the way when she was falling, that's like they panned away. We didn't see her just straight like hit the ground. So he was saying she activated one of the last Pym particles she had, went back in time, fixed whatever she needed to fix, and then they had him saying that she had Yelena Belova pushed her down the straight and narrow to be good, and then she died, and she actually ended up having to fight in this this movie. She had to end up fighting herself, and she's actually the Taskmaster. So I was blown away, and I don't even know if I entirely explained that the way they explained it, but it was a crazy theory to just take away from a trailer. One thing I will say, he also mentioned the reason he had this theory is because when you look, Thunderbolt Ross has blonde facial hair. He has blonde hair, blonde facial hair. This is supposed to take... Wait, when is this supposed to take place? Because I thought it was supposed to take place after Civil War, in between Infinity War. But if he's got blonde facial hair and hair on his head, this had to have been a while ago, because he had white facial hair in the 2008 Incredible Hulk. So how far back in time are we going? It was a DH Thunderbolt Ross. I'm really curious with this movie. But what are your thoughts, Joe, going into Black Widow?
Honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that theory, because if that actually is true, I feel like it opens up more pathways and roadways that will just lead to even more discussion in the future. Because it's like, if she did that, then how much did she fix? And in doing so, by fixing or doing whatever she did, how much else did she set up on the path? Or even so, did she get like some of the other Avengers set up on their path? Or did she get Fury to figure out and maybe think about starting the Avengers Initiative? Like what? Like it does wrap your head around it, because it's like, it sounds too far-fetched to be true. But then again, this is Marvel we're talking about here, and they love to get us hooked on some of these like theories. And if that's true, just wow. That's all I can say really about it. As for the movie itself, how's it? I mean, I want it to do well. Because really, Scarlett Johansson was a hell of a choice. We can all agree on that. She was a hell of a choice to play Natasha Romanoff in the Avengers. So, I honestly just don't have any thoughts right now. I mean, I just want the movie to do good, but I'm still trying to wrap my head around that theory, Jake.
It's a crazy theory. I'm not saying it's not. But Eric, man, he goes into great detail. New rock stars know what they're talking about. Another guy that's really good is Charlie over at Emergency Awesome. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, that's so. I will say that. Ashton, what are your thoughts on the Black Widow movie? And what do you have any theories or anything like that?
I would say that's been a movie that I've been kind of a little iffy on. Like, her character's been fine. I wish they would have built up her character a little bit more in the Avenger movies. I felt like her character deserved a little bit more, so they probably should have done this TV series a little bit soon, or movie a little bit sooner. I would have liked the TV series on her versus a movie. To me, it kind of feels a little pointless. I know they're going to put Thunderbolt Ross in there and point towards other stuff in the future and kind of build him up using the movie. But I don't subscribe to that theory that she teleported. Like, that's not how the Soul Stone works. They make it pretty clear in the Endgame and in Infinity War, you had to give up a soul. She had to die to get that stone back. There's only one way to get that stone.
He had her teleporting before she hit the ground.
And back before, like, then she has to find more Hank Pym particle. Like, I think that's too convoluted, at least in my opinion. I don't like that theory as like being something that would be realistic, or not necessarily realistic, but it wouldn't flow well and it wouldn't make sense. I think you can have better plot devices than her magically going back and getting more Hank Pym particle and then going back at that point in time to fall and die and give up her soul. Like, that's a little bit too convoluted. But moving on towards the movie, I'm interested to see Taskmaster. I like him as a villain. I hope to see more of him. I don't know if she's going to kill him or not. I'm assuming she probably will at the end of the movie. I hope I'm proven wrong. I haven't been looking forward to this movie. I like Scarlett Johansson. I think she's a good Black Widow. It's just her character, like, what's the point of this movie? And that's what I'm interested to see. And the trailers still haven't, like, convinced me there's a good reason for this movie to exist. Does it push the MCU forward overall narrative-wise? Not really. It will push some characters. So, like, are they going to convince me? Are they going to make it a good ride? And will they show her growth? Like, what possible growth can she have between Civil War and Endgame? I don't know. So it'll be interesting.
I just feel like it's almost like a bait and switch in a sense. I think it's all about Yelena Belova, if you ask me. I think it's all about introducing her as the new Black Widow. And it's called Black Widow, so it's not, that's her name, so it's not like it's Natasha Romanoff, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, that's why I feel like it's a bait and switch almost, because you have her in the front, she's on the cover, but in reality, this is all about, kind of like, we can kind of simplify WandaVision as this is the origin story of Scarlet Witch, and then you go to Falcon Winter Soldier, and this could be the origin story of Falcon becoming, the new Captain America. And then no matter what you think, whether it's Bucky eventually taking up the mantle of White Wolf or just Bucky remaining the Winter Soldier, but it's a redemption arc for Bucky in a sense. And then I feel like with Loki, it's like we don't really know what's going there. We just don't know enough. Black Widow feels kind of simple to me. It seems like it's almost like paying homage to Black Widow, to Natasha Romanoff. And I mean, this might be the last time we see, Scarlett Johansson in the MCU. I'm not saying this will be, but it might be. And if that's the case, then maybe it's like a love letter to her act, her as an actress, her role. And on top of that, it's also a passing of the torch to Yelena Belova and her character as Black Widow, who is confirmed, by the way, for the Hawkeye series, which says a lot and pretty much tells me that if she's confirmed for the Hawkeye series, then there's no way that Natasha Romanoff is coming back to life, because that, I just don't think they would do that. So I think, Yelena Belova is going to take over as the Black Widow full time, and this is kind of just a passing of the torch. Shane, what are your thoughts on this Black Widow movie?
Well, I didn't hear about that theory you said about her being Taskmaster and all that, but that would be interesting just because, like, in the MCU, at least the last couple of movies, it brought the whole concept of time travel into question. In movies before this, you change your past to change your future. In this one, you can't change your past because it won't affect your future because you've already lived it once. But that kind of like ruins it a little bit, because they basically killed past Thanos in their present. if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they killed 2013 Thanos in, I guess it's 2023 if the time lines up right or something like that. So that kind of like takes Bruce Banner's argument kind of like, are you sure about that? So I think that would be what would help your argument, Jake, about that. It could be that she did teleport there, but you made I can't remember your name. Sorry, you made a good point that that's not how the stone works. So that would bring into question as well. But this Marvel, they can do whatever they want with that. One thing I am looking forward to this is it does take place after Civil War, and that's like the one character we didn't really know what she was doing after Civil War, because she didn't show up again until Infinity War. Everybody else was showed up at some point between then, and so this one's going to show what she was doing, and it also kind of brings up the scene where her and Clint Hawkeye were hanging off the cliff to see who was going to actually die for the stone, and Natasha just seems so sure of herself. It almost seems like maybe that would also tie into your theory as well, that she knew she's gonna fall, but also that it was already planned that way. It was predestined. She knew ahead of time all this stuff. So I think if you look at it that way, that would be one way that you could say that your theory makes a lot of sense. But it also say that it's essentially her past self has died, because it would be her past self that teleported to the future, so that her future self wouldn't be alive, and then just makes the whole time travel thing confusing. But
time travel's so confusing.
So I think my whole thing with Loki, and tied to this one, that maybe Natasha in some way can live, but she won't be Black Widow. Would be like the way they kind of retire her character, so to speak, would be like the easy way out. But either way, Florence Pugh, it looks like, is going to be the next Black Widow. They might change her name. I don't really know what they're going to do with the name, because they gender bend, they race bend, they change character names all the time in the MCU as long as they stay true to the character. So I don't discredit the idea of her being Taskmaster. I really don't.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I it's so hard with time travel, because it's like, and honestly, I don't really totally understand the Soul Stone either, because it's like I thought I got it, but then it's like, okay, so Gamora can come back to life, but Black Widow can't come back to life. It's just that I don't understand, and I know she's dead in that, like Gamora's dead in that universe, but in another alternate reality, she's alive. So it's like, why can't they just get another Black Widow? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
I don't know. When people are explaining why that's not the case, I don't feel like there's a good enough reason or theory or logic behind it for me to be like, that's why. Okay, I get it. And there are a lot of things. I mean, as you guys know, we've been talking for an hour and a half here. I mean, we all know a thing or two about the MCU. We all know, in great detail about a lot of things, a lot of callbacks, a lot of Easter eggs, things like that are thrown in. But that's just one of the things that I never fully feel comfortable. Do I say that she's dead? I always felt like she was dead entirely, because I just didn't feel I feel like in the MCU, they have done so much of this. Oh, he's alive. Bucky's alive. And all this, that they have to kill somebody. They have to have finality. And I feel like, unfortunately for Black Widow, she is being killed off. And I do think Steve Rogers, I do kind of lean towards that idea that Steve Rogers is on that sword base in space. I do think that they were fooling around with that idea. I think they had Torres throw that out there in the Falcon Winter Soldier TV series, because I think they wanted to get a rise out of the audience to be like, that's stupid. That's what? And then it ends up being a thing. And the reason I say that is because the end credits of Spider-Man Far From Home, Nick Fury's on there. And, we already know confirmed is the Secret Invasion. We can talk about that a little bit later. But, I think I wouldn't rule it past the MCU to bring back Steve Rogers. I wouldn't. Now, Jordan, what are your thoughts on Black Widow? And then we'll move on into, where will we move on? We'll talk a little bit about What If, see if anybody has any thoughts on that.
So just kind of, before I get into the Black Widow thing, I truly believe with Chris Evans, if you look at Doolittle, for Robert Downey Jr., that kind of flopped. So I think, he could be in them, come back. I think for Chris Evans, Knives Out was a great performance. He's been in a lot of things that were really good. I think there's a lot out there. I think the only way he would come back is if it was, say, an alternate version where he was Captain Hydra. Something along those lines. If they actually played into that story bit a little bit, I don't think he would actually come back as Captain America. I think the way they sent him off in that sense was amazing. You know, he finally got his dance with Peggy. The only thing I'm going to say, and I agree with you, Jake, completely on the whole, you know, time travel thing is, you know, they killed Thanos in Endgame at the beginning. Gamora was dead, but yet somehow Gamora and Thanos, same with Nebula, can come back, and Nebula, you know, with her own self there. So we saw 2 Nebulas. Is why couldn't they, after the events of Endgame, they're all at that funeral for Tony. Why couldn't they just use Pym particles, go grab the Tony Stark that, you know, a day before the events of Endgame, go grab the Black Widow from a day before Endgame and just bring them into the future, even though they were dead in that reality, bring, you know, a different reality version of them and having, you know, and they'll never answer that, I'm sure, you know, because then it's kind of a cop out in a sense. They go, well, we just didn't think about it.
Actually, the wise one, or the ancient one, sorry, answers that and basically says everything and everyone has to be in accordance with the timeline for you not to have variances, and that's what the TVA actually touches on. Right. And I think they'll explain that more for people questioning, like, yeah, but why can they come back? Well, they're different versions of themselves from technically a different timeline, because the second that those people from the future enter that timeline's already changed. It's a different timeline. It's a different parallel universe. So I think they'll touch on that on TVA. They can come back in that universe because they're not from that universe. Right. The second you go away in that timeline with the yellow stone, you're gone forever in that universe. That version.
But then what about Gamora? Because we saw her, they're searching for her.
That's a different universe, Gamora. She's from 2013 from a different universe. That's a different, you can think of it as a universe where what if Gamora and Thanos just disappeared? Because they, in that timeline, they just disappeared. And there's no explanation. That's now a different universe. But as long as the stones are still there, like that's what the ancient one says, if the flow of time continues for both. And she showed just our flow of time, but there's millions, infinite levels of flows of time. That's the multiverse, right? So you have to think of it as they just plucked those characters from that multiverse timeline and put them there. They're not the same characters from that line.
And right, and I was just gonna that you could pluck, you know, different, you know, the 9 million still
and they will.
Yeah. But in regard to Black Widow, I'm kind of in the same boat. You know, it's not something I've really been excited about. I love Scarlett Johansson. I love Natasha Romanoff's character. I think that this movie is coming out 2 years too late. I think.
Well, it is.
If it was
it absolutely
filmed
is.
and ready to go, yeah, you know, it is. And then they keep delaying it, which at this point it's, and I don't want to say maybe they're adding stuff in, but it just, and I know they're trying to get as many people to the theaters as possible. So that's a big reason why they're delaying it. I just, at this point, are they kind of shooting themselves up by delaying it more? Because the more it and we talked about, me and Jake, you know, we talked about this November. We were like, they keep delaying it. It's my desire to see it is going down every month that it gets delayed. And a big thing that I question is, you know, the cover of the poster, she's in a white suit. Then when we see her in Endgame or Infinity War, she has a black suit with blonde hair, a black suit at the end of Civil War. So she just magically became White Widow. I mean, I'm trying to contemplate why she had a white suit and then went back to black. So that's kind of weird. I am excited to see Red Guardian. You know, David Harbour is a great actor. I'm excited to see him play that character. And I don't know if maybe he's playing her father, but then in Infinity War or Endgame, she says that she never knew her dad's name, but Red Skull did. So I have a lot of questions that I think need to be answered. So I don't know. I am excited for Taskmaster, you know, someone that can mimic every single person they fight, their moves. And I don't think that's something that Natasha can do. So I am a little, and I love Eric Voss. New Rockstars is amazing. That's where I'm a little skeptical on that side, because Natasha's never been able to just download someone's abilities and basically mimic them.
Well, if she's
Sorry
fighting
to end this
herself,
on that, yeah.
then I think it's a little easier to mimic. But
Yeah.
no, I get what you're saying there. We are over an hour and 30 here. So let's go rapid fire until we get to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, and we'll end there. And then next time we can cover more stuff. Okay, so what if, real quick, I don't really have a ton of thoughts on this. I think it'll be interesting. If anyone has thoughts, speak up now.
I will say just real quickly with what if, I think they're testing out ideas maybe for potential stuff to put in well, they already filmed it, but like potential story ideas to see how people react to interesting things they do with characters. Maybe they could do a like what if movie if it's successful enough, a certain episode. Like they do that in comics a lot. Just like throw a lot of characters in a multi-issue comic and be like, see which ones people buy, and then they make a comic line off of that. They could be kind of doing a similar thing and make a what if movie, maybe if one episode is more popular than other, and put the actors in it to have fun.
I think what if is essentially what the fans are asking all the guys at Comic-Con, like what happens with this, and then this is the chance to get the answer. Is really what it is. What I do like is Jeffrey Wright plays the Watcher, and it's really cool is that we have another actor who plays in between the Marvel and DC world. He's going to be Jim Gordon in the new Batman movie, and I actually like when actors do that because it means like you can kind of tote the line there. But really, what if I'll watch it? I'm gonna watch it. It's just more like this is the question to all those dumb answers that if you ever went to Comic-Con, got into Hall H, and asked a question just to get a rise out of Kevin Feige, this is what you get.
Zombies too. They have zombies in there.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll watch it. I'm not like super stoked about it, but I'll watch it. Now, this is another one I'm not super stoked with. We have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings coming September 3rd. I get it. Like, I understand why they have to release it, of course. I like the 10 rings tie into what we saw with the first Iron Man. And again, going back to what really this whole idea, this whole concept of what we're talking about, it's the MCU and just their ability to pay off things that they've put behind in the past. And this is another example. Iron Man 1, we see him captured by the 10 rings, mentioned repeatedly. We get the fake Mandarin in the third one. Now we get the real Mandarin. The fake Mandarin is probably going to be in this, I think. I think that like the real Mandarin is going to like punish him for doing whatever he did. But I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts? It's a different type of MCU movie because this is going to be more of like a martial arts style, fighting style instead of, guns or, whatever you want to call it, like just blasters or elemental moving of, like, I don't know. Like it's going to be
Like
different.
Iron
So
Fist.
what are you? Yeah. So like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, we'll start with Ashton.
Yeah, I instantly think of Iron Fist, which I like that series more than most people, even though I realize it was very campy. Yeah, Shang-Chi, it's not a character I'm very familiar with. I hated what they did with the character Mandarin in Iron Man 3. That movie is such a great movie that isn't a Marvel movie because it tries to I don't want to go on a whole rant. It's like to me what Star Wars Episode 8 did to Star Wars, where it was a great movie, but it didn't really fit in that universe correctly. And same thing, I think, for Iron Man 3. I thought they tried to get too fancy. The director tried to put his own spin on the character, and it just didn't mesh with me. I thought Ben Mendelsohn, I believe is the actor's name, he would have been a great Mandarin. Like, I don't get why they wasted that on a gag. It was like a 5-second gag, like, oh, I'm a British actor with women, like, haha. I would be interested to see if that turned out to all be a ruse to stop Iron Man from getting to him. Like, what if he was acting to be an actor? Like that would be interesting.
That was my first thought. That's the weird thing.
Yeah,
I didn't
so
even take that. Like, I couldn't comprehend what I was watching. Is anybody like me? Like, when I first saw the Mandarin, I didn't even know it was the fake Mandarin. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, like, is this an act of an act? Like, what is
Dumbest
happening?
twist. The dumbest twist.
I thought it was done literally just to have a twist. Like, oh, you didn't see that coming. I was
I
like,
didn't.
I was like, come on. And then you had the other dude that I hated in that movie become the actual villain. I was like, oh, he was so
what is his
campy.
name?
Guy Pearce.
Yeah. Pierce. I was
I meant
like,
a character name because Trevor Simeon is the fake Mandarin, right?
Trevor
That's
Simeon's
the
a
character's
quarterback.
name.
That's a quarterback.
Trevor Simeon's a fake quarterback. No.
No, hold on.
Jake Gordon.
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, I know. Okay. I'm trying to think of his character's name. I thought it was Trevor.
Oh gosh, it
But yeah.
popped in my head and then went out.
Let me see.
Something
It's like-
arms. Something
It's
arms.
like the Incredible Hulk. He just didn't matter.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Hammer. Something Hammer. I forget.
Justin
It just-
Hammer.
so Guy Pearce was
Justin
Aldrich.
Hammer.
Guy Pearce.
He's going to be an
Aldrich
armor
Killian.
wars.
Kingsley was Trevor. Hold on.
Okay, yeah, you're right. You're right. It's Hammers from the second movie. Anyways, let's get off of the terrible
Yeah.
Iron Man sequels.
Yeah.
I think Shang-Chi will hopefully remedy some of that. The movie itself is kind of hard. Like, I'm more excited for Blade than I am this movie. But you know,
I'm very
I
excited
love
for Blade.
Kung Fu. I love Kung Fu. So if you just put a great Kung Fu movie with some superhero stuff, you tie it into the MCU a little bit, be like an Ant-Man type of movie where you're self-contained, but you do a good job of making a good movie, I'll be happy. And Marvel does that 9 times out of 10, as long as it's not Iron Man 2 or Thor 2.
Trevor Slattery, that was his name. I knew it was something with an S, and I don't know why the terrible quarterback came to mind, but you know.
That does sound familiar.
Yeah.
I think this movie was made as a reaction, really, from the MCU after they cast Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One in Doctor Strange, because that was an Asian person who played that character, and over the years Marvel's gotten more and more diverse, expanding more and more roles for different people, for different races, different genders, different characters, and I think this could have the same effect that Black Panther did for the Black community that it could for the Asian community. Especially this is the kind of time they need it because of all the attacks on Asian Americans and all stuff like that. This is the right time to have it. And I do hope they do the Mandarin justice, because the Mandarin, really, if you look at the comics, was Tony Stark's arch nemesis, and you thought that he was going to be his Joker to Batman kind of thing, but he was really just a Joker. But you hope that they do the character justice this time, just because it fits in more like with it looks like it's an all Asian cast too, which is nice, because like that comic book surrounded around Asian Asian characters. And you mentioned Iron Fist. I would have liked to have seen Iron Fist like somehow be tied into this, or maybe the future some way, because I didn't think, for what it's worth, I didn't think him and Luke Cage and all that, I think they did a bad job. The shows were just, they were whatever. But I would have liked to have seen him come back in that capacity.
I was actually a big fan of Luke Cage. Now, in Luke Cage, was that... It's either Gotham or Luke Cage I'm thinking of. Cottonmouth. Was that Luke Cage?
Luke Cage.
Yeah.
That was
The first half-
Mahershala Ali.
Yes, and he's going to be Blade.
Yeah.
So I'm really hyped for that, because I loved Cottonmouth because I thought he was such a great actor.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he played that role so well. And then Bushmaster was just like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the second they killed Cottonmouth in that TV series, it went downhill for me.
Yeah, I thought
really did.
Luke Cage was great in the first season. And the second season, I just don't really know what their goal was with it.
The only thing with Shang-Chi, I'm just going to say I'm excited for a new origin story. We haven't seen that since, Captain Marvel, we knew she was around. So, like, they had mentioned her. Same with Black Panther, we had seen him and stuff. This is, like, the first character that they haven't mentioned Shang-Chi's name at all in any of the movies. So
that's true.
I'm excited to see a whole new character, one that's never been talked about before. So I'm hyped for it. Kind of like, the next movie is Eternals. That's a whole new thing that really hasn't been mentioned. So I'm just excited to see new characters get their kind of limelight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't have a ton to add because I'm just not really familiar with Shang-Chi. I I'm not in any rush to see this movie. If it was postponed until 2022, I would live. But I hope that they're like, I don't know. I wasn't a big fan of like Ant-Man either, and then I was pleasantly surprised by Ant-Man when I finally watched it. And I mean, it's not fair for me to say that. I thought that, I mean, Paul Rudd is the man, so I shouldn't have just like wrote it off like that, but I finally got around to watching it and loved it. I thought Ant-Man and the Wasp was even better. So yeah. All right. So moving on, we have Eternals on November 5th. This I can't wait to see. And honestly, I'm getting Robb Stark and I'm getting Jon Snow. So I feel pretty good about the casting in this one. And no, I didn't mention anyone else casting wise. It's a great cast, but I just need those two. And we're gonna get a teenage or young Thanos, so that's gonna be cool. I think at the end of the day, you're gonna have Dean Whitman, the Black Knight, Jon Snow's character. Obviously his actor Kit Harington. He is going to be a part of the main storyline. He's going to come over to the main MCU timeline. I think like Icarus, who's played by Madden. I forget his first name. I think it's Richard Madden.
Richard.
Those, I think all those guys, they're not going to translate. I think they're all going to die because it's a prequel. I mean, you're dealing with Celestials and all of that. I wonder if Ego is going to be in this movie at all. I'm curious to see that. Because we saw Ego obviously in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And I think someone mentioned, I don't remember what video it was, but someone said that they saw Ego's ship in Guardians of the Galaxy 1, showing you that he was actually spying on Peter Quill throughout his entire journey, which is actually terrifying when you really think about it. Because that giant like egg looking ship. But anyway, what do you guys think about Eternals? We'll start off, of course, with Ashton.
I'm very excited. Again, this isn't like Black Widow to me because this is about a character we haven't seen at all, or characters we haven't seen at all, and it gives more backstory and world building to the rest of the MCU. So I'll be interested to see, like, I think this will be one of those movies that's really good to slip in before Infinity War and Endgame after it comes out. Like, whenever you rewatch the whole MCU, you'll want to put this one before to kind of see why Thanos thinks the way he does and does the things he does. So it'll be very fascinating how they fit in Black Knight and Icarus into this world and who dies and who doesn't, and who goes into the next few phases. Because I think the next mini phase, kind of like how Civil War was a mini phase before they got the Infinity War, I think next phase is Secret Wars. I don't think it's going to be as big of an arc as people think. I think they're building up to something past where you have a kind of like a Phoenix situation with Scarlet Witch. I think that's what they're building up ultimately, is Scarlet Witch and maybe Chthon working together. Like, she's tragically falls because her sons are... I think there's a lot of possibilities with that, but I don't think Secret Wars is a big arc. I think it's a mini arc like Civil War, like a single film. So Eternals, I'm expecting a great movie with a great cast that builds up the backstory of the MCU a little bit more. 3 words: ripped Kunal Nanjiani.
Yep.
I'm excited to see that. I think this was kind of a response really to, the Inhumans show. It just did terrible. And they had a couple of Game of Thrones actors on that one too. And you mentioned Black Knight. It feels like the most. It almost feels like he's going to kind of be the breakout character just because of like where it's headed. I'm actually kind of excited to see Angelina Jolie, because you don't really see her in a lot of movies very much at all, and just because I'm interested to see how her role of Thena, because you saw Ego in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. That's where we got the word celestial from first, and these guys are all celestials, which makes you think that and Ego in the comics had sort of like a mixed bag, so to speak. There are times he would do good things, times he would do bad things, and I would wonder if that would sort of carry these other Celestials who are, am I this all-powerful being, or am I going to be more like Peter Quill and just be more human, so to speak? Because they're eternal. It's from the name. So I would wonder. I think it's going to come down to the ones who live and the ones who die. Is going to come down to like where their, I guess not loyalties, but where their morals lie.
Jake had sent me his theory a couple weeks ago, and I was blown away by it. And I really think that's going to happen. Ever since they announced Eternals, I have just been dying to see it. I mean, I will drive from Iowa to New York to go see it with you, Jake. Like, I need this movie now. I've been waiting. I've been super pumped for it because it's just something completely different. I mean, you actually get a whole insight of a whole different type of universe, and you get to see all these different things, and they kind of explore more of that space side. We do get to learn more about Celestials, and I do think that is going to play a big role. So I'm excited. I wish it was already November or October, whenever it comes out. I'm excited.
November.
Can't wait. Yeah, okay. I knew it was November.
Hey,
I was
I will
low-key
bummed. Drive with you guys and watch it. Like,
Deal.
like I will drive to New York too. Like I'm
coming to New York.
I was so bummed when they pushed it back because it was originally supposed to come out last November. And that was one movie I was like, please don't push this back. Please do not push this back. If there's one movie you don't push back, please don't do this. And when it did, honestly, it broke my heart in a sense because I've just been so excited for this movie. And then the movies after that and shows after this going to be pretty big too. So I'm excited.
So what do you guys think will be Thanos's body count by the end of this movie? How many Eternals will he knock off? Half. You think?
Well, because
half?
he snapped, he killed up half of them. So I'm thinking he got the half from somewhere.
Yeah, but then when they, yeah.
Is Thanos gonna have that big of a role though?
I don't think so. I think we're gonna see like a cameo. Yeah, I
think we get a I think it's gonna. Here's how big I think Thanos, like a young Thanos' role is gonna be. It's gonna be as big as a young Apocalypse in Days of Future Past at the end of the X-Men movie. I think we're gonna get like a quick scene just showing him, maybe starting to adapt his whole his lifestyle of half. Like we're gonna see something. But I don't think we're going to get him as a legit character. I could be wrong, and I hope I am because I love Thanos. Yeah. But I see it first thing when that was mentioned, I was like, okay, so we're getting a young Apocalypse type of build up there, which is in backwards order because we got X-Men Apocalypse right after that. And, this one, it's kind of you already know the story of Thanos. So,
right. Well, do you guys remember when he's better? Do you guys remember when he was talking about when they were on the planet Titan and he was explaining about his home and how, he tried talking to them about it and then it just still withered away because they didn't try to ration things and it should have been half. I think we learn more of that backstory thing, Thanos. We see more about his time on Titan and how that went south and how it turned him into what he is.
Yeah, I mean, they could go many routes with this. Yeah. I'm really excited for this movie. This is a movie standalone I'd be interested in. Yeah. It just has a great cast. It seems so mysterious. We haven't seen a true trailer. We've seen a lot of concept art. We've seen the costumes or suits, whatever you want to call them. Icarus looks baller as all hell. I mean, can we just point that out? He's got that I don't even know what those plates are on Thor's comic book look. I can't even describe it, but he's got those chest plates. Digging it. So I'm excited for Richard Madden. I'm excited for Kit Harington. Kit Harington had a really rough time coming back from Game of Thrones, man. Once they finished up, he was depressed. I don't know if he went to rehab or not, but I know he got he did. He got very, very down. He was so into that show. And I hope he finds a home in the MCU because I love the guy. I thought Jon Snow was an awesome character. And I loved Richard Madden. Quite honestly, I'm hoping they find an alternate universe where the Red Wedding doesn't happen, but that's neither here nor there. So we that's Eternals. now Spider-Man No Way Home. This is the most anticipated movie I think I've had maybe ever, because we're getting I'm done with the whole, well, Tom Holland said it's not happening, or he looked at, I don't give a damn. Okay. We are getting a Spider-Verse, a live action Spider-Verse movie. Maybe not entirely Spider-Verse, but we're getting the big three. We're getting Tom Holland, we're getting Tobey Maguire, we're getting Andrew Garfield. It's happening. No one can tell me otherwise. Today, we just find out that Tobey Maguire's voiceover actor for the Spanish audience is working on this project. We find out all about the stunt double. Tobey Maguire's stunt double confirmed. Andrew Garfield's stunt double confirmed. This is all guaranteed. It is happening. If anybody's worried it's not, it's happening. I'm over discussing it. It's a done deal. So going into this show or this movie, I think we're gonna see them trying to establish Doctor Strange as the leader of the new Avengers, I think. And they're going to do it by making him the next Iron Man. You saw how quick, and it's kind of crazy, right? Like the way Far From Home was, they had everyone in their own universe, like Thor unavailable, Doctor Strange unavailable, like nobody was around. And then Mysterio pops up and everyone's like, oh my God, he's the greatest superhero ever. Like, and that quickly, the fact that people changed their opinion that quickly from Iron Man to Mysterio, and we've actually seen there's been leaks of different like signs out there, like Mysterio, rest in peace, Mysterio, justice for Mysterio, and there's people that side with Spider-Man, so they have that kind of division, kind of like we have in our everyday life. But they're doing that, and I feel like Doctor Strange is going to come in, and people are going to be like, oh, where was this guy? And then everyone's gonna be like, oh, Doctor Strange. I don't know why everybody was apparently like completely sleeping under a rock, during the events of Infinity War, but maybe they forgot. I don't know. Doctor Strange. That was a quick fight scene before he went up onto the spaceship. But I will say this. I think Doctor Strange is going to do a great job of becoming like that Tony Stark character, that mentor for Peter Parker. I think we will. I know it's already been somewhat confirmed, or it's rumored. I think we will get Daredevil. I know that they were filming a court scene, so I think he probably will end up being Spider-Man's lawyer in some facet. But I also don't necessarily think it's going to go the way we expect. The way it ends makes it look like we're about to get John Wick 3, where he's on the run, and that's how John Wick 3 starts. And like Spider-Man, like he's on the run, everyone knows he's Peter Parker. But I don't know if that's going to be the case. And some way or another, Doctor Strange is going to be like, because we've already seen there's a still of Spider-Man who's not clothed as Spider-Man, just Peter Parker. So Peter Parker, MJ, and Ned. And you saw kind of this glow on their face. I think that is Doctor Strange. I think he just teleported them to his sanctum. And I think essentially we're going to get Doctor Strange is going to either use his sanctum as a safe house, or we're going to get the multiverse. We're going to try to help Spider-Man. And then eventually it's going to bring in Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, I think it's Raphael Molina. I might be pronouncing his name wrong. Alfred Molina. Alfred Molina, Jamie Foxx, all sorts of characters. I think there's characters that haven't even been discussed. And that's kind of where I'm leaning with this. The weird thing with this is that Morbius was supposed to connect to this movie. And it's weird because Morbius is part of the Sonyverse. And we've been hearing constantly how the Sonyverse won't interfere with the MCU. But there's a ton of like Spider-Man's a murderer, there's signs all over in the background during Morbius. Morbius was supposed to come out way before this movie, and now here it is. It's postponed until 2022. So that's really intriguing to me. Also, Venom, because Venom, if Morbius is connected, then why can't Venom? I know that's out and about. What if Will There Be Carnage actually brings Spider-Man onto that film? And then Venom is actually in No Way Home. It's already been filmed. We don't know. And keep in mind, we're starting to get these leaks leaks happen for a reason. So I think we're getting a trailer very soon. I think the leaks are on purpose, and I think we're getting a trailer very soon. Within the next month or two, we are getting a trailer for No Way Home. And I don't think it's going to showcase anything crazy like showing Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield. I think they're really going to try to act like we're dumb, and I think they're going to try to release it in the theater. And what's going to end up happening is that it's going to be that moment where, since we live in a world where we're so, obsessed with spoilers, it's not going to have the crazy, the oh my God moment like it could have had we, not gone to that length to try and spoil it. But hey, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be a great movie. It's huge for Spider-Man. I don't know who even the main villain is going to be in this. I mean, I assume Doc Ock. I assume Electro will be in it, but I'm almost wondering if I definitely don't think Mysterio's dead. I think we're going to get the Sinister Six, but I don't know exactly who's going to be the main proponent of getting the Sinister Six. I'm also very interested in that building that was sold. It looks like it could be Oscorp moving in. It also, because it's the Avengers building, it either could be Oscorp or it could be the Baxter building, and it could be, the Fantastic Four. I don't know where they're going to go with that. To be honest with you, I think they should go with Oscorp. Or what if it's, Wilson Fisk? Like, I don't know where they're going to go with that. But I think there's multiple avenues, and that's the thing. This is why this, to me, plus Spider-Man connects with me more than any other superhero, because I watched all of those animated series as well. I will tell you, they can literally do whatever they want. They could have Kraven. They could put the X-Men in here. They could do all sorts of stuff. They're not going to do the X-Men. I can tell you that right now. They're going to wait a while to bring them in. I do think Kevin Feige was legit with that. And the only way I saw them bringing them in is, via Madripoor, maybe having a Wolverine Origins thing. I just don't think they've casted anyone yet to even do something like that. So I'm going to say this. I do think this is my most anticipated movie, because this is going to go very well into the Multiverse of Madness. I'm not saying that the Multiverse of Madness isn't the most anticipated, because I think it is, but this comes before. So I think because it comes before, like, I would see this before I'd see Multiverse of Madness. I wouldn't see Multiverse of Madness before the Spider-Man one that's supposedly going into that. So I guess the question is going to be, with these, with these cameos, are they cameos? Do they last? Like, do we get an actual fight scene? Apparently there was a giant fight scene that it was a really well orchestrated fight scene. Tom Holland is covered in blood. At the end of the shooting, they had the picture. They all took a picture on the steps, and Tom Holland's face is covered in blood. So we know he's going to get into some massive, battle there. Another thing I want to point out before I head over to Ashton, because I'm going off on a tangent here. This is my bread and butter. This is the thing I cannot wait for. I will say this. The snap, it has been used in a way to you can either not have someone age, or you can have someone age 5 years. And we don't know, but we know he's in the MCU because he's been mentioned. Miles Morales, 5 years older if he didn't get snapped. And if I'm Marvel and I'm smart, I make Miles Morales 5 years older and I don't have him get snapped, because then you can introduce him. But if they had him get snapped, this is a moot point. But I'm wondering if he became Spider-Man before Peter Parker got back from the snap. I'm very, very curious with that. And I'm curious because this movie, Far From Home, does not touch on anything, literally anything in the United States. They're in the United States for about 10 minutes in total of the entire runtime of the film. Like, that's my thing, is that what if Miles Morales was doing all that work? I mean, Peter didn't get any sort of indication that at home things were going on over there. Who knows? But I do think there's a lot of things that can go on here. Ashton, you take the wheel, because I'm going to keep going if you don't.
Yeah, I'll take that will from you. And so this movie does come out before Doctor Strange. So I think the launch point for the like crisis in the multiverse, I'll call it that, like spin-off DC. I don't know Marvel has a main story arc name for like when the multiverse starts to break up and stuff. But I think Marvel will start to do a similar multi-movie arc like that. And I think Spider-Man will actually fall into because of some event happening we don't know yet. It could be because of what Scarlet Witch does. It could be something Doctor Strange does or something that a villain does. But it starts opening holes to different multiverses on our Earth. And one of the people who gets sucked up by these holes is Spider-Man. And he ends up traveling through, either with the help of someone or someone else, different timelines. That's how you get the different characters. No Way Home refers to the fact that he has fallen through, maybe with his friends, to different dimensions that he's trying to figure out how to get out of them and get back to the right timeline. And he has to ask for help from these different Spider-Men, and you get a homage to that great Sony film Into the Spider-Verse. And I do think we will see either a homage to Miles Morales or Miles Morales himself from a different timeline. One to where, what if the people snapped and come back and Miles Morales had to become the new Spider-Man? Like something like that. I definitely am looking forward to how they spin all these different characters and villains. They have so many different villains, like Doc confirmed and stuff like that. I think it's rich with storytelling potential. It, like Into the Spider-Verse, if you haven't watched that, great film. Go watch it right now. I couldn't recommend that film enough. Man, I'm looking forward to how they do this multiverse arc, because I really think it's going to tie into that. I'm interested to see if you guys agree with me that Spider-Man will be part, or will show the launch point for why the multiverse is fracturing away. And you see from Spider-Man's perspective, him trying to get out of that situation.
I think the title is going to give away a lot more than we think. Because if you look at the past couple movies, they both meant something literal and some sort of hidden with the plot. And Homecoming had a Homecoming dance, but also was like Spider-Man coming home to the MCU, make himself an Avenger and all that. And Far From Home, he was literally far from home. And then at the end, he gets revealed as Peter Parker. So like he can't, like he really can't come back. He's far away. And then here we are, No Way Home. There could be a literal sense where he is in the multiverse, like we're talking about, and maybe, just maybe, there's a way like he can't go back. He can't go back to his old life because, like, you know, at this point he has a relationship with MJ. He's got his friend Ned, but maybe things have gotten so complicated because now he's out and about. You know, and everyone knows he's Peter Parker. Everyone in the world knows he's Peter Parker. He can't go back home. He might be in a situation where he's like stuck where he's at. So I think they're giving away the plot in a sense with the title again, because if you watch all those movies in that succession, they do the same thing for the first two movies. I think it's going to continue with this one, especially with Doctor Strange coming in.
Yeah, I think the biggest question is, will these characters be brought into our world, or will he be brought into theirs?
He's got to go there. He's got to go there. He's far from home. Or
on that, I had questioned a long time that, originally it was supposed to be Doctor Strange coming out first, and then 2 months later in this summer's No Way Home was going to come out. Well, it's obviously flip-flop now, and they had time to change the plot, rewrite things, and then they filmed it. And, I've seen multiple sources say that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are only going to get about 15, 20 minutes each in that movie because their contracts came in late, especially Tobey's. Otherwise, Tobey was supposed to have a bigger role. And I know that Tobey wanted to be more than just one movie. He wanted to have at least 2 movies in his deal. So I would bet my life that he comes into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I do see that he does come in that. And I think that there's also been confirmed that William Dafoe is going to be Green Goblin again, or at least Norman Osborn. So he's coming back. I think it'd be dumb not to show, if they do show Miles Morales, to not show Donald Glover as the Prowler. He's obviously Miles' uncle in Homecoming. I think it would be stupid not to have him as Prowler. I think that'd be pretty cool. And you could have Miles Morales eventually be a big part of the Young Avengers. Obviously, I don't know if he was in that main storyline, but you could. Marvel changes things all the time.
You can still do it, yeah.
Yeah, so they could still do that. I'm like Jake. I could talk about this forever, and there's things I do want to discuss that I think are going to happen. I think, in that still that Jake was talking about, you see MJ, Ned, and Peter, and you see a shadow on them as well in that light, and it does look like the Sanctum. So I do think it's Doctor Strange, but I also think we see, we're going to see obviously Mysterio back. We're going to see a different version of Electro. He's not going to have the same blue tint to him. I think he's going to have a more modern comic book accurate costume like they do to a lot of characters. I think
Should
obviously
be green and yellow. I mean, that's Electro.
Yeah. I think we're going to see Doc Ock. I think we're going to see Vulture. And Vulture was in that Morbius trailer. So that kind of connects that as well. He was at the end of that Morbius because he goes, "What's up, Doc?" Or that's what he says to Morbius. I do think Scorpion, they've already mentioned Scorpion. They brought him up a lot. He was in the end scene of Homecoming.
Black Target is also part of the Dark Avengers, by the way. Yeah. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, I could see Kraven. I do think Kraven would be a really good storyline. I do want to see that. But also, No Way Home has put out stills of like characters and such and like drawings on their characters. And there was one of Ned and with that blonde girl that he was with dating in Far From Home. It showed them together in like a white paper background, and it had a drawing of an orange like hood hat thing on top of Ned. And in the comics, Ned becomes Hobgoblin. So, and I know that Ned is or the guy that plays Ned, what's his last name? His name is Jacob, though. Battle. And I know that he would love to be the Hobgoblin at some point. And if you think he got shredded and lost all that weight for no reason, I think you're crazy. I think, and he has a Letterman's jacket on in that still, which is kind of, it makes me wonder, he's really fit now. And all of a sudden he has a Letterman's jacket like for sports. And we've never seen him with that before. So that does make me wonder. And I think, I do think he got in shape for a reason. I don't think it was just to be overall healthy. And it may have been that too. But I think there is a world where he becomes Hobgoblin, and maybe not in this movie, but eventually becomes the Hobgoblin and one of Peter's best friends turning bad because there is no Harry. There's no Harry in this movie or in this universe, but there is Ned who turns bad. So I think that's going to happen. I do think Charlie Cox will reprise his role as one of the lawyers, but let's not forget Jennifer Walters, as She-Hulk, she's a lawyer she's an attorney. And she usually is attorney for superhero individuals. Her show comes out, doesn't it come out early 2022?
Yeah.
I think that'd be a perfect way to introduce that character as well if she was one of his attorneys. But I do think Charlie Cox will do it. I think it'd be cool to see that. Obviously, Multiverse is going to bring a lot of people in. I think that's where we will see the X-Men eventually. I don't know if it's going to open with, say, Wanda opening it. The multiverse, I don't know if it's going to open in a different way. I think you got to have, if you're going to have those characters in, I think the multiverse has to appear in the first half of the movie. It has to at least be brought up in a sense.
Well, do you guys think Iron Man will show up in Spider-Man? Like he goes to a different universe and you see Robert Downey Jr.?
Well, so Tom Cruise was up for that role originally. He was up for that role of Iron Man originally, and he had to take a break off of the Mission Impossible 91 or whatever number they're on set to go film something else. And, that to me, I know that there's a way where they would do different versions of, different actors or actresses that were supposed to play the parts and then
that would be cool.
Else. Like John Krasinski was supposed to be Captain America and then was on set, had his outfit on and everything, saw Thor and was like, nope, can't do it. And obviously I want him to be as Reed Richards, but it'd be cool to do things of that nature of the actors that were supposed to originally play the characters. It was different because Wanda's a Nexus being, so she looks the same in every reality. But if you're not a Nexus being, that's where you get like a Lady Loki. That's where you get a young Loki where they look different. They're different people, they're different versions. So that would be interesting. I'm really excited to see how that plays out.
Like they play that emotional beat, definitely would be interesting.
Well, and then we already kind of got a little bit of the multiverse with J.K. Simmons. he appeared as J. Jonah Jameson, again, of a different version of like an Alex Jones news reporter at the end of Far From Home. So if he's in there and he's still J. Jonah Jameson, is he an alternate version of J. Jonah Jameson since he's not a Nexus being? There's a lot of questions that we can ask with this.
Well, some people can happen to look the same between multiverse. That is true,
though, too. I think it's going to be exciting to see what they do. I am worried, though, if it's only a 2-hour movie, that would bug me a little bit. I think it needs to be on the longer side because I don't want them to just throw everything in and call it good. And I'm worried that with everything happening and all these characters set to appear, I don't want to be let down or feel like they rushed it all. I'd rather have it be executed perfectly.
I think the runtime is going to be around 2 hours and 40 minutes.
That's perfect.
That's
to me.
enough.
That'll work.
That's enough.
But I swear, if they have Tobey Maguire as like an Uncle Ben or Andrew Garfield as a pizza boy, I'm going to lose my crap. That's going to be so annoying if they do. Because like Ralph Boner pissed me off enough as it was. If they do this with Toby and Andrew, they're going to get so many people that are mad at them. And it would be frustrating.
It was such a gimmick when they did the Ralph Boner thing. I'm
he
like,
laughs at his name. Who laughs at their name?
like it was such an on the nose joke. I'm like, you could have just not like. To me, it came off as like they were trying to drive online conversation with putting that actor there. Happened to be the same character. I'm like, don't do that. You piss me off. You either make him the character or just put an other actor. Like, you don't need to do that to get a fake rise out of people. Your content should do that for you. The story should do that for you, not a fake like, oh, confusing people. Like, is that the same Fox actor? Is that the same character? Like, there's different ways they could have done it, and I hope they don't do that again.
Because if they do that, some people thought it was funny the first time with the Ralph Boner thing. But I can tell you it's going to be a way different reaction if they do that with Toby and Andrew. People are going to be really upset because Spider-Man, it's different when it's someone coming over from the X-Men universe and it's not like a Toby. Obviously Evan Peters is a phenomenal actor, big characters, Quicksilver. But this is, Spider-Man we're talking about. You can't do that in this sense and expect your fans to be happy because they wouldn't be. So,
yeah. I guess I could see. I guess the Ralph Boner thing. I do think that they're messing with you, and like the whole fan base in general. Like, I think that they're messing with you because I think there's going to be a payoff with that. I can't justify going out and getting Evan Peters just for a gag.
Right.
Everything they do for a reason. And so I just don't think they would care enough to, rub people like that the wrong way. But let's because we've been on for a while here, and I'm getting.
How does he have his powers though? I am curious about that though. Evan Peters, Agnes can't just give someone super speed like that.
Well, I agree, but that's a good point. All right, so last thing here, we're gonna wrap this up. We're going to talk about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Keep in mind, this is just Roundtable 1.0. We will have other roundtables in the future. So I'm looking at this movie, and I think we've already heard this is going to be Avengers level movie. There's all sorts of rumored and just a giant list of potential appearances, and I think we're going to get 4 Spider-Men in this. I think we're going to get Peter Parker reprised by Tobey Maguire, reprised by Andrew Garfield. We will get Tom Holland, and we will get Miles Morales. I do think that would be the case there. Now, on top of those, I think you're going to see the Prowler. I think, they mentioned Aaron Davis for a reason. I think Aaron Davis is going to be a part of it. I also do think that, so you look at the 4 Spider-Men, you look at Aaron Davis. I think you're going to get I obviously think you'll have Doctor Strange. So you'll have that. I think you could get Venom, depending. I think you could get Morbius, depending. they are going to really, I mean, Morbius comes out in January. This comes out in March. So you could get him in there. Now, I'm curious to see, because if in the MCU, we have seen characters be introduced by the likes of a bridge movie, an Avengers level movie that bridged into their go-to movie series. Now, where does this happen? We saw Black Panther in Civil War. We saw, Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's first appearance in the MCU was not Homecoming. It was Civil War. I'm pretty sure we saw Ant-Man. Yeah, Ant-Man came out. Okay, yeah. So Ant-Man as well. And I just feel like this is kind of what they like to do. Now, the Multiverse of Madness is going to be it's going to be very big for a character on the level of Scarlet Witch. Scarlet Witch is going to be one of the top characters now. They know what they have in Elizabeth Olsen. It's probably why they're okay killing off Natasha Romanoff, because they don't need that powerful female actress anymore, because they have that in Elizabeth Olsen. She was the introductory. She was the OG, but now they have Elizabeth Olsen, and she can take over as the powerful, like, top-notch female actress. Now, I think Scarlet Witch, you mentioned Nexus being her, and I forget all the other ones, but I know Phoenix is a Nexus being as well, Jean Grey. So I'm interested to see that. But I think that this movie is going to be based on Chthon. I think you could see Nightmare, you could see Mephisto, but I think it's going to be based on Chthon. Chthon is the one that basically made the Darkhold. Chthon, I think she's going to accidentally bring Chthon back to reality. And in doing so, I think she's going to break apart all realities. And this is how you're going to get the Multiverse of Madness, because it's going to be straight up madness. And I think, like, it's going to be, she's going to have Doctor Strange's help. Doctor Strange is going to obviously be pissed. What are you doing at the Darkhold? All of that. She's also going to get Agatha Harkness back from Westview. She's going to turn her back into Agatha Harkness and not Agnes. She's going to help her. I think in doing so, this movie is going to lead to her obtaining Vision again, and her children. Now, I don't necessarily think Vision will live throughout the entire movie, because I think they're going to do something where Vision and Spectral Vision fuse. Like, I think that's kind of what they were maybe potentially alluding to in the TV show, but I think Spectral Vision eventually will turn back into Vision, or they'll just roll with Spectral Vision being the Vision, right? But I do think that Wiccan and Speed are going to be introduced as, like, actual beings in the MCU, because they want to bring the young Avengers to the fray. I don't think that they're gone for good. Now, I know the whole deal with Mephisto and how they're technically like souls in Mephisto or whatever. I don't think necessarily that that's the direction they'll go. I think they're going to play around with the story. I think this is an opportunity, though, to introduce characters, and by introducing certain characters, you could get a Miles Morales, but you could get, Morbius or Venom, like I mentioned. You could get other characters as well. You could get the X-Men, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff going on here, Fantastic Four as well, where they could introduce them. I think we're going to see Yelena Belova. I do think the Hawkeye series, all of those characters are going to pour into the Multiverse of Madness. This is going to be an Avengers level movie, so I think we're going to have kind of an all hands on deck type of movie. Falcon and Winter Soldier, Falcon as Captain America and Winter Soldier will be back. I do imagine they'll be part of this, but I do think that Disney Plus and Marvel Studios is really trying to keep them separate and over in that the Wakanda realm, and not really close to what they're doing with over here with Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch. But Ashton, what are your thoughts on this movie? We're wrapping up here, so your final thoughts, this movie, and anything else that you have.
if I had to name my favorite Marvel character, it would be Doctor Strange. I love the character. I love his movie. I thought it was the best standalone movie they made. That's an origin story. Just super well done. The effects are just like when you first watch that movie, like it's hard to forget it came out in I think 2017. So it's like when you watch that movie, it's so mesmerizing, so well done effects, just how they deal with space and reality. I just love that movie to death. So going into this movie, my whole thoughts is I'm excited to see Doctor Strange's second movie. I think it'll be like Civil War, where the focus of the movie is Doctor Strange, but he's going through small samples of different realities. So you're going to get small samples of all the Spider-Man. You're going to get small samples of maybe the Spider-Verse, small samples of different alternative versions, maybe the Earth where we see in the Loki series where Loki becomes president. You see that Earth in a different perspective for a few seconds. I think they'll do something like that. I definitely think characters like Photon will show up. I think she is people don't realize she's in top 10 of power scale in the Marvel comics. Like, she is insanely powerful. All she has to do is see a new type of energy and she can control it. So, like, people, a good YouTube channel is Comics Explained. Google that with Photon and you will get a lot of information about how awesome of a character she is. She'll be there. Scarlet Witch. I actually think Mephisto will be the villain for this because, again, people say, oh, they don't want to bring a devil-like character. He won't look like Devil. I think he'll have hints to that look that his comics does. This is what Marvel does great in the MCU is they make a character look modern. Like Falcon doesn't look like a bird anymore. He looks different. And I think they'll do the same thing with Mephisto. Mephisto, I think, will be the villain for this movie because I think they're saving Chthon for a big arc. A big arc. Either they're saving Chthon for a big arc to be the big baddie in Phase 4 and 5, or they're saving Scarlet Witch to be that big bad. I still am trying to figure out which. I know we'll find out in Multiverse of Madness. Either way, I'm excited to see Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch team up with a bunch of alternate universe or multiverse characters. And oh man, if they do it right, which this director is I don't know if they have the horror director on there anymore. Maybe someone can Google. I think they changed directors last year.
No, they have Sam Raimi.
Is it still Sam Raimi? Yep. Yeah, I really think he's going to do a good job with this, with all the characters. And if it's anything like the last few Avenger movie, man, get a bucket of popcorn. This is another movie to drive a few hours for if you want to watch it with a group of friends. Like, this is one that, yeah, like we got to sit back and like keep on inviting ourselves to Jake's house to watch movies, or like up to New York. And oh man, it's going to be such a blast.
The one thing I'm really looking forward to this movie will be about who the villain is, just because that was the one flaw of Doctor Strange, was like they wasted the villains. Mads Mikkelsen was used, but he didn't get developed. And Dormammu, who is Doctor Strange's arch rival, he was wasted. You know, he was kind of used the same way that they used in Fantastic Four, Rise of Silver Surfer. They used what's his name? The big purple guy who turned into a cloud.
Big
Galactus. He was Galactus.
Yeah,
they wasted Dormammu the way the Fantastic Four wasted Galactus. So
yeah,
I'm interested to see what Baron Mordo's been up to, because we got a little snippet of him trying to get rid of all the sorcerers and Scarlet Witch falling into that category.
Person.
And if it is Mephisto, then how is that tied into it also? Like, does Mordo like have a change of heart? Does he team up with him? That sort of thing. I think that Chitwell Ejiofor, I can never pronounce his name right. I think he has a chance to develop his character the way that Tom Hiddleston got to develop Loki, if they can do it the right way. Because that was the one flaw. You talked about Doctor Strange being the best origin movie of the MCU. I say it's Iron Man, but that's That's a different argument. That was the one flaw. Was the villains were weak. Everything else was spot on.
Yeah, so a couple of things with mine, and I was going to bring up Baron Mordo too. I want to see what he's been up to, what kind of role, because he is confirmed what kind of role he's going to play. But I do see where Chthon could, and I sent Jake a picture of this on Twitter. There was a comic where Quicksilver was taken over by Chthon, and I don't know if Jake can put it up or not on the screen. But Chthon literally he's wearing black and red. It's Quicksilver's face, body, and his eyes are red, and it kind of looks like an Evan Peters type deal. And this is straight out of the comic, and he goes, Pietro Maximoff, the one called Quicksilver, is gone. I am Chthon, and this world, this reality shall fall before me in the blink of an eye. So I think, and I can try to, I don't know if you guys can see that very well, but it's,
Yeah, I can see it.
It
Kind of looks like Black Adam.
Yeah, in a sense, yeah. And I do see where that could, especially he's the creator of chaos magic. And that's where Wanda's magic is chaos magic. And, I do believe at the end of WandaVision, we see her in a mountain, right? And that's the mountain of Wandagore. In the comics, that's where she went to learn the dark magic. And I think that's where she's at. And that's where Chthon a lot of him takes place there.
It's where she's born in the comics.
Yeah. And so I am excited if that's the route they go with Chthon. Like I said, I actually really want to see Nightmare. I think it'd be really cool. Because I don't think they're going to go full Mephisto if they do a Mephisto. It is going to be interesting, right?
Right
yeah,
there,
that right there. I don't know.
Small,
There's a lot that's going to play into it. I do think Ghost Rider will show up. I know that Nicolas Cage has apparently been talking to Marvel about reprising that role. I could also see the Fantastic Four, and the only way I say that is, let's not forget, Fantastic Four comes out in 2023. By the time this movie comes out in 2022, it'll be a year, probably later 2023, so probably a year and a half off from when Fantastic Four comes out. We're going to see them before their standalone movie. I would guarantee anything we see them before that comes out. We're going to get a glimpse of them somehow. And at the end of Far From Home, when he's swinging with MJ, you see the closed behind the Stark Tower. And it says, we'll see ya in, and it says 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, and 3 are clear circles with white, and 4 is lit up in a different color, and it's like blue. And so that makes me think, yeah. And so I think when it says 4 in that, I think it's kind of a little Easter egg that maybe that's going to be where the Fantastic Four are. And I could see them being in this movie. I think there's going to be a lot of crazy cameos, like I said, Ghost Rider. We may see some really cool characters. Closing thoughts. So, I know we didn't get to the recasting of things, and we'll get to that another time, but I do think there's a chance Dr. Doom also makes an appearance in this. And I could see I hope Michael Fassbender is Dr. Doom, but also one other.
Actually, I wanted to be Magneto, but you go ahead.
Yeah. One person that we haven't talked about, though, in the X-Men, because I know a lot of us have thrown out names for certain characters and things like that. After watching the It movies, if you don't think Bill Skarsgård should be Nightcrawler, that would be phenomenal, in my opinion. I think with how crazy he is, he could go dive into that role pretty good. I just think we're going to see some really crazy level cameos that are going to blow us away. I think, No Way Home's going to be mostly centered on Peter and the other Spider-Man and the Sinister Six getting all that. And I think it's going to lead right into really, as Jake said, madness. I mean, Multiverse of Madness is going to be insane. I think that probably will be close to a 3-hour movie. Because if any of you have seen Justice League, the Snyder Cut, it didn't really feel like 4 hours to me. I was just so into it. I don't think they'd go 4 hours. I think they could go 3, though. And like I said, I think we're going to see the most cameos we've ever seen. I think it's going to introduce a ton of things. And I do think there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions. I don't think we'll get closure of Scarlet Witch yet. I could see her eventually getting her own movie. I think there's just too much money involved
about Deadpool, by the way. Because there's this rumor out there that Deadpool 3 is going to take place during the events of Endgame.
And I know that originally it was supposed to be a road trip of him and Hugh Jackman on a road trip, which was funny. But there was a comic book where Deadpool kills the Marvel universe. I know that there was a rumor. I think it'd be cool if Deadpool 3 is where he kills the Fox universe.
Okay.
I think that'd be entertaining, or at least maybe not a whole movie.
Yes,
but you know how he does
please.
his little end credit scenes? At the end, it shows him just going around killing all the X-Men, killing all, and you see Chris Evans as the Human Torch again, and he kills him. And he's like,
Yes,
we got another
yes.
one. We got another one, and then he kills Chris Evans.
No, he
I
would
just think
kill
that'd be really
himself as
cool.
Green Lantern and be like, "Oh, wrong universe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that'd be another way for Chris Evans to come back, would be as a cameo of like a Human Torch from a different universe, and then him just die out of the blue, like Brad Pitt died as Vader in Deadpool 2. So I think killing the Fox universe would be cool. Like, even if it's an end credit scene of like 5 minutes, where it just goes around and you see him killing all these Fox universe people because he's like, well, I found a new home. It's gonna be cool. I am really excited. I hope Deadpool 3 comes out before 2023. I don't want them to push back to like 2024, 2025. So, but on closing, I had a lot of fun. This has been great. It was nice to meet you guys. Just I could talk for hours on this stuff. I mean, every day we talk to each other about this stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I could spend all day talking like this. We had discussed before how cool it'd be to be like an Eric Voss, who his full-time job is literally just talking about superheroes and Marvel. And, I enjoyed this and had a lot of fun. So thank you guys.
Yeah, happy to have you guys. This was a lot of fun. It pretty much tells me that, we can obviously do this again. I thought it went really well, having 9-10 people in at once, having people, file in, file out. I think it was, very relaxed, laid back. I mean, I'll put it on screen what we had left. We pretty much had, Thor, Love and Thunder, which we'll talk about next time, Black Panther 2, Captain Marvel 2, confirmed with no release dates, Ant-Man, the Wasp, Quantumania, Blade, Deadpool 3, Fantastic Four, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which, by the way, we did get news today from James Gunn. It is going to start filming. I don't know when it's going to start filming, but I do know that it's going to start filming soon.
We could even do like
we only got into the first part of 2022, so we still have a lot to cover.
Yeah.
And there's one thing I want to bring up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier that I completely forgot. There was news that came out today that apparently episode 5 is really, really sad. So take with that that you will. That's where I think maybe we see T'Challa die. Just if it's really, really sad, and I don't know.
I think it might be something about Bradley though. Like I think like it might be something about him and like giving him like recognition,
like
and then he gets killed or something. Yeah, like a flashback of them showing him getting his blood taken. I think at some point we're gonna get a flashback of him fighting Winter Soldier, which I do want to see.
We could always do like nerd debates too. Like I know he said like Iron Man is the #1 standalone. Like have us both take positions, debate, and then have the rest of the panel
like the Schmodown.
Yeah, similar like Schmodown, but like something where like I love debating and just talking because no one ultimately, it doesn't matter who's right. It's having fun debating, putting out your opinion, seeing someone else's and be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Why? Okay, I'll give that movie another shot, another look.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I'm chock full of ideas. So,
I was just gonna say we got one more big topic that we got to cover next time. No one has mentioned the mutants.
Oh yeah,
coming.
Well,
and if it's called the Mutants, that is a huge tribute to Stan Lee because he wanted them to be called the Mutants. So we obviously have to go into that another time too, because that's going to be a big deal when it happens.
Yeah, we were talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, listing it off. Armor Wars is going to have Justin Hammer and Don Cheadle as the main character in that. She-Hulk, which we've talked about. Moon Knight, which I can't wait. Oscar Isaac is going to be so baller in that. Ironheart is going to be interesting because we have Ironheart and Iron Lad, I would assume, is coming. Then we have Secret Invasion, Marvel projects with potential tie-in to the MCU. Marvel Sony projects. We have Morbius in 2022, January 21st. But we do have Venom 2, Let There Be Carnage, September 17th this year. That's going to do it, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed. We had a lot of fun over here. To Shane, Ashton, and Jordan, appreciate you guys for sticking around to the end. To everyone else that was on this panel, appreciate them joining. And we'll be doing this again, in the near future. So you guys have a great night. And, I will be back later on this week with the MCU related content. I'm going to be doing a usual episode breakdown, recap and reaction of Falcon Winter Soldier. You can follow me at JKBogan DTSN on Twitter, and you can subscribe to the Jake Ellenbogen channel. It's all uppercase letters, Jake Ellenbogen. Thank you again, guys, and you guys take care.
Get you later.
See you.